scenario for you to imagine. Being away on holiday, only to find your savings disappearing from your bank account right before your eyes.
That's what happened to Ian Finlay and his wife when scammers took thousands of pounds from his bank account while they were on a cruise in Australia. They were the victims of an increasingly common scam that nearly all of us are at risk from.
Yeah, Alice Beer is here alongside Ian to warn us all about the SIM swap scam. I'm saying that very carefully, Alice.
Easy and slowly. Yes.
Ian, lovely to have you here. We'll talk to you in just a moment about what you went through. Let's just start, though, Alice, because SIM cards and SIMs are something we all have, we're all dealing with all day, every day, but just a little bit of explainer about it.
If you've got one of these, you've got a SIM card inside it. It is a subscriber identity module. That's for your pub quiz. That'll get you at least a point, if not a pint. So basically, that little chip, that little microchip, inside your phone is a link between your mobile phone network and your number. So it personalises it for you so that all your texts and all your calls come to you. Now, a SIM card swap is a very genuine service, and you might need it if you lose your phone or you change your network provider. If you've got a better offer, you say, OK, I need to migrate my number to another SIM card. And that happens, and that's fine. You want to keep your existing number. However, when a fraudster gets hold of enough information that they are able to swap your number onto their SIM card, then you're vulnerable, and so is your bank account. And that's what happened to Ian, because they then have access to everything. So last year, Action Fraud had over 2,000 cases of SIM card swaps. There'll be many more that weren't reported, we know, and that was double on the year before. So you can bet your bottom dollar that there's thousands of these happening all the time. And you need to be aware, because there are things you can do to be alert to it and to prevent it happening.
Well, I was going to ask you, how do they do that so we can kind of work out...
Let's go through the actual process, because it is complicated. But first of all, fraudsters get hold of your data. It happens every day. There might have been a data breach at someone who's got your information, a big organisation. You may have clicked on a phishing text or an email that's been sent out from a SIM card somewhere. So they gather your information. Your information is in the wrong hands. What they then do is use that data to gather more information about you, maybe your email address, maybe your date of birth, for example. And then what they really want is your phone number. And once they've got your phone number, they can then contact your mobile network provider. They can pass all the identity checks because they've got your address, they've got your date of birth, and they've got your phone number. And it's not that hard to do. I'll tell you how you can prevent that later. They impersonate you and they convince your network provider to carry out a SIM card swap. And they migrate your phone number to a SIM card that they've got. And then, from then, they have got control of your incoming texts and your emails and any incoming codes, you know, those verification codes
it's like
we
the
get the whole
steps,
time.
isn't it?
They've got access to that. And when they've got access to that, they've got access to things like your banking apps. And then you can literally sit back and watch money going out of your bank account, as happened to Ian, and you can't do anything about it at that stage because they have control of your bank.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? And
it's
terrifying
terrifying.
to hear.
Yeah, because it doesn't sound that difficult either.
It sounds like a simple step process. Ian, this is exactly, as Alice said, what happened to you.
It is, yeah.
You were away on holiday?
Yeah, we were away just to add to the complication of it all, we were away in Australia.
So time zones, the other side of the world,
different technology, doubts about whether or not your phone's working correctly, plus the time zone if you want to make any queries, any phone calls to banking operations in particular. And we first started noticing that one of our credit cards has been declined. Again, because you're on a ship and you're only getting off, you know, once every other day. You're not using your cards all the time as you would be at home. So the first time it happened, you think, it's a glitch.
Well, you're also in different locations as well.
Yeah, we were moving around.
Yeah.
It's just a glitch. We use another card. Then when I got back onto the ship, I actually went into the card app. Couldn't see anything wrong, but then noticed some transactions on my current account that weren't from me. And then when I looked again at the credit card account, there was stuff going on.
And what sort of stuff? You're talking about how much were they spending?
There was on the credit card, it was fairly common stuff. It was meals out, it was clothes, but then they'd actually put a deposit down on a holiday to New York. Wow. And I found out subsequently that they were trying to make a payment from my current account to my credit card account so they could pay the balance on the holiday. And we actually caught that in the middle of that going on. So that was quite lucky.
So what did you do, Ian? Like, what was your first kind of call to action?
Well, the first call of action was actually on the ship. Because, cards were going down, and I think we had one left.
So they're all stopping working?
Yeah.
We're all stopping. We had one left that was working. So we actually went and had a chat with the ship and said, look, this is the score.
Yep.
And they agreed to give us a line of credit if we needed it until we got off and got home. So that was fine. There was no immediate worry for us on the ship. But it wasn't until we got home that we realised it was something bigger than just a card scam or a cloning of a card. It was actually the whole lot had gone.
Yes.
And at that time, we started to look at our savings account, and there was a substantial amount had gone from the savings account in a series of transactions into, I believe it was a Monza account it had gone to.
So thousands of pounds was going?
Thousands of pounds, yes.
That must have been terrifying.
It was. I mean, for certainly a couple of weeks, we were in limbo. All the intentions were, if you've done nothing wrong, you'll get this money back. It'll just, a bit of investigation, bit of time, it'll come back to you. But until that actually happens, there's always that amount of uncertainty.
And you must have felt really vulnerable because you're trying to work out how on earth have I clicked on something that has meant I've been scammed?
Yeah.
Were you aware of the SIM swap scam before this?
Your first feeling is, as it is with a simple card scam, what have I done wrong? Where's it happened? Where's it been cloned? And you start to click through, and I'm just going over a period of a month, you start to click through, where has this happened? And then you realise nothing like that has happened. Your mobile phone company has sent a duplicate SIM to an address not connected to your account, that somebody's put in a phone, and then they've got everything they need to know about you. And as Alice said, the added implication is that we're now all pushed into two-stage authentication.
Yes.
I was sat trying to look at my accounts, trying to get into them, getting a message saying we'll send you a 4 or a 6 digit code. That never arrived.
No, of course.
I know that was now being skimmed off by the scammers.
Fraudsters, yeah.
They were then using it to get into my account and do even more damage.
Oh, so how do you discover this, Alice?
Well,
because you automatically go straight to credit card.
Absolutely,
first of all,
and Ian was on it. Who on holiday checks their accounts regularly?
Yes.
Not many of us.
Yeah.
Check your accounts regularly. That's good financial, security behaviour, of course. Never click on any phishing links because obviously they're harvesting your information. Your phone will stop functioning and you'll lose access to things. You will notice it when it happens. When it goes quickly.
Right.
And then you have to act. Report to your bank, get your account frozen, report to your mobile provider, get a case ID number from both of them so you've got control later. Get your phone number back. Get your mobile provider to get your phone number back. And if you feel there's been an unfair breach, you have to get in touch with a communications ombudsman because then you can actually do something about it, stop it happening again. But we have a responsibility here, and you did nothing wrong. We're all, the way we live our lives, we're doing things wrong now. We have to change.
Yeah.
We're leaving too much information lying around. We're leaving it lying around on all social media platforms, phone numbers, date of births, pets. I bet if I looked into your account, I could tell when your birthday is. I could vaguely find if you've ever done any planning applications. I could find where you live. I could find... I'm not going to stalk you, Ben, don't worry. But you need to enable those...
The restraining order is still in place.
Is it still in place, that restraining order? Oh, God, I thought I'd help with that. Multi-factor authentication. Don't get irritated with it. Go into your settings and enable it. You've got to have that enabled. Don't respond to unsolicited texts. Set up a PIN with your mobile provider. That's a really important one. If they offer, go onto your mobile network provider website, see if they offer any extra layers, like another PIN, that when you talk to them, you give them that PIN.
So when they phone, they say, right, give us your PIN number and then we know it's you.
Yes, exactly. We have to do as much as we possibly could. And just one extra thing that We have so many software updates coming through at the moment. You've got to do them. And it's irritating because you've got to be connected to Wi-Fi, a phone's got to be switched on. It takes a certain amount of time. Do your software updates because they're protecting you. They are protecting you. And there's a brilliant site called Have I Been Pawned, PWNED, and you can find out if any of your apps and websites have been subject to a data breach.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, it's really clever. I'll put it on my...
Yeah, please do.
Any other advice you'd say, Ian?
Again, just a couple of quickies from me. Firstly, the rules of my mobile service provider said that if they sent out a duplicate SIM, that the first SIM should have been stopped, which would mean your phone would stop working. That wasn't done in my case. So although a duplicate SIM had been sent out and somebody else was using it, as far as I was concerned, it wasn't an issue with my phone.
No, your phone was still working.
And that would have bought me another 2-3 weeks worth of time to have stopped and closed things down. The second thing is, as we've said there with the PIN, what you've got to do after all this is closed down and sorted out is to start reopening everything again. So you need a new email address, new phone number, you've got to think up new passwords, and you've got to contact your various banks and credit cards. Big difficulty I had, and that took me probably 4 or 5 months to do overall to get things back up and running. The big issue I had was you would ring up the credit card or ring up bank account. They didn't know whether it was you or the fraudster that was actually ringing them.
Of course.
And there was a number of instances where one card in particular wouldn't speak to me for 3 months because the rector couldn't pass the security question.
And you wish that had happened in the first place.
Yes, that would have been amazing.
Why weren't you this?
You did good, Ian.
Well, look, we're glad you sorted it out, and thank you for bringing it to our attention. Alice, thank you for sharing as well, because undoubtedly it will make a big difference. People will hear that because we didn't know about it.
And it affects everybody, anybody who's got a mobile phone.
Thank you both.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.
Though he is a footballing icon, one of my favourite players of all time. 78 caps for England, 87 career goals. Played for West Ham, more importantly. He had a left foot that sent shivers down the spine of the opposition. Stuart Pearce is a true legend of our game.
But last month, on a journey home from the US, he experienced a medical emergency mid-air when at 33,000 feet, his heart went into overdrive.
Now, thanks to the quick action of the Virgin Atlantic crew, the plane was able to make an emergency landing and Stuart was able to get the treatment he needed in time to save his life. And he joins us now alongside his wife, Carol. Good morning to both of you.
Morning.
Stuart, it's lovely to see you looking so well.
Yeah.
You're full of the joys of spring.
Of course, you've got to be, haven't you?
Yeah.
Especially if you've had this moment that actually could have been a lot worse. Just explain a little bit about where you were. You'd been in Vegas, is that right? Had you been indulging in the typical Vegas way?
Well, we went to Vegas for 5 days, done a couple of shows, done the Punk Rock Museum, as you'd expect as
Amazing.
well. And more importantly, the rugby. We're Warrington Wolves fans, so we went out to watch Warrington versus Wigan.
So they were having a big sort of show game over there to try and find
one
American
of the
fans.
Super League games they took to Vegas for a profile for the rugby. Fantastic. So on the way back, just at the airport, my chest felt a little bit tight, a little bit heavy. I thought it may be a bit of indigestion or something of that nature. Got on the plane and it was just it felt as though someone was sort of sat on my chest, if you like. So after a couple of hours, I tried to sleep it off, to be honest with you. After a couple of hours, and I should have picked my wording slightly better, I said to Carol, I don't think I'm going to make Heathrow. I meant without telling the aircrew. Carol thought, he's pegged it. He's done.
He's pegged it. Have you ever struggled with your heart before or had any kind of medical conditions?
Nothing at all. As I say, the history of my family, nothing at all in that at all. My brothers and sisters are much older than me. They're fine. I don't drink. I don't smoke.
You really look after yourself.
Yeah, within reason.
So, Carol, you're sitting there, and obviously you know him inside out. For him to make a fuss about something physically, is that quite unusual?
Yeah, very unusual. Very unusual. Other than man flu, which I know is...
That knocks me
Well,
off.
it affects
It's
every
clearly
man
a
terribly,
huge
doesn't
deal.
it?
Other than that, for him to say he's in pain, that immediately made my blood run cold because you think, OK, this is serious. Because Stuart doesn't do being ill, he doesn't do pain.
Making a fuss?
No, he played with a broken leg. I mean...
Wow.
You kind of... Yeah, so I knew it was serious when he said to me, you know, I'm not going to make Heathrow.
And then, so then what's the process at that point? Because, of course, you're in the air at this point and you understand if you tell people, then there could be some ramifications.
Yeah, I mean, you went and spoke with the air crew. They were magnificent on Virgin. I've got to say, one of the stewardesses come and sat next to me and went through the procedure. They've been trained, which really, going forward, we travel a lot. So going forward, it really put my mind at ease. If you are travelling, you're in really good hands, even if you're up in the air, in the main. They looked after us, moved us forward down the aeroplane, sat us up, hooked me up to a cardiogram.
An ECG
machine.
So they could track what your heart rate was doing.
And then,
so at the time, your heart rate was getting very fast, is that right?
My resting heart rate was 155 upwards.
Goodness me.
And how did you feel at that point? Were you then short of breath as well as feeling this pressure on your chest?
Just the real pressure on my chest more so. It was as though when you did breathe in, as though it wasn't sufficient for the demand, you know, slightly. But in the main, yeah, as I say, you're never sure, because I've never experienced anything like that. And I have regular checks with my union, the League Managers Association. Last summer, I went for all the checks and everything, no problems at all.
And at that point, when they've hooked you up, are the crew then talking to a medical team that are down on the ground as well?
Literally that, yeah. They hooked up with a doctor, send all the readings down there, put me on oxygen, and he's guiding them, but they're trained as well, which, you know, when people around you, you know, that are quite well trained, you know what I mean? It puts your mind at rest anyway.
I know one of the reasons you wanted to come in and share your story was so you could thank the crew as well, because they really did look after you brilliantly, didn't they?
Oh, 100%. I mean, firstly, the crew, and they were first point of contact, but on top of that, you know, the hospital in Canada was brilliant for us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, bear in mind, you know, we were in Africa camping before Christmas, so if the same thing would have happened there, it would have been a very different experience.
Yeah.
And then, on top of that, obviously, we're sat in the hospital bed watching the Forest Man City game, and they've done a minute's applause, and we're watching the game and think, hang on, one of the old Forest players must have died or something. You look, I'm looking, hang on, it's me, you know what I mean? And I'm up on the board. It was really humbling. I must say, Ben, it was so humbling that, you know...
Well, there's a lot of love for you out there, which is important.
It
but
was
also,
lovely.
we know, because you wanted to thank her, we thought we'd bring her in today. Zoe Anderson.
Zoe.
Here's Zoe. He's the onboard manager, who was exactly the person you were talking about, who came and sat down with you.
Great to see you.
As a surprise.
Good morning, Zoe.
Wow,
Good morning.
So you could say... Now, Zoe, thank you for coming in, by the way. Thank you for looking after this national treasure as well as you did, because we do worry about him. And it's an interesting thing that Stuart says is actually that you were able to sit down and talk him through and put a lot of their concerns at ease. What happens when something like that happens to an onboard passenger, and what was it like sitting next to Stuart and hearing what he was going through?
So we are trained to deal with these situations. We go through quite extensive training. So when things like this happen, you know, we're prepared to deal with it. So when Carol initially came and spoke to me, I sat down with Stuart, did the sort of initial assessment, because sometimes with chest pain, it could just be something simple. It might not be something as serious. But after talking to Stuart and knowing some of your symptoms, I think you said your pain was about 8 out of 10. It started to raise some alarm bells, so we thought we needed to sort of act on that.
And then you were talking to the medical crew down on the ground. I mean, I didn't even know that protocol existed. It's actually really reassuring when you hear the story.
Yeah.
And they said, OK, well, at this point, we've got to make a decision. Are we going to land the plane, or are we going to take it across the Atlantic? And they didn't recommend that you did go across the Atlantic, because then there would be nowhere to land. So what was the next stage?
So we had Stuart hooked up to an ECG monitor.
Yeah.
I think we're the only airline in the UK to have that equipment. So we were able to send that straight down to the doctor that I was speaking to. My colleague, the flight service manager, Callum, he was doing the readings while I was in the cockpit talking to the doctors. So we had all that information to sort of relay back and forth. And then obviously we did a few different readings. When they said that all of them were abnormal, we made the decision that we didn't want to be halfway across the Atlantic.
That's a heavy decision to make, Stuart. How do you feel when the crew say, right, we're going to divert the plane, we're going to land in Canada? Because there's a plane full of passengers that want to get home.
Yeah, there was a lot of rugby league fans on there, so I think they had a little bit of sympathy with me, because I was one of them, if you like. But I was sort of in and out of consciousness. I was sleeping and then waking, sleeping and waking. And then next thing we know, we're landing in Newfoundland.
So you weren't really conscious that the plane had been done, because you were struggling, your heart rate and stuff.
Yeah.
I'd imagine getting a bit of sleep's probably one of the most important things.
Exactly that. I was trying to sort of sleep it off and sleep it through. To be honest with you, I did feel slightly better going down the front, the oxygen and stuff like that. Aspirin was given to me to thin the blood and stuff. But, you know, I can't speak highly enough of the crew. It's quite incredible, honestly. I always felt as though if you get ill on an aeroplane, worst place in the world to be ill, you know, but it sort of give me a newfound rest assuredness, if you like. You know?
And we landed in Canada in -11.
Yeah.
Having come from
23
Vegas.
degrees
It was
in
boiling,
Vegas.
right?
So bless Zoe, she gave us a little care package with some water and snacks and stuff and a couple of blankets as well. So
Really
she made
looked
sure
after
we went up with,
And I'd imagine
brilliant.
Zoe as well. I mean, Stuart's a high-profile person anyway, but there's going to be people on the plane. If suddenly you're turning around saying we have a passenger with a medical emergency, we're going to have to divert, that can be quite scary for them as well.
Of course, yeah. So it was a team effort to make sure that Stuart, first and foremost, was being looked after. But the crew all worked together to make sure that everybody was calm and no one was worrying. So, yeah, it was a real team effort to make sure that everyone was looked after.
But I think it really stemmed from you, though, as well, Zoe, where you kept your cool. When, you know, when everybody else was kind of worried and concerned, rightly so, but you kept your cool. And I think that just kind of then reflected in everybody else as well. Is there anything you'd like to say to Zoe?
Well, we can only, as a pair, say thank you very much. You know, the professionalism that you showed on the day was brilliant. You know, if, you know, I was quite calm, reasonably calm anyway, I'm sure, but if you've got passengers that are very nervous and this sort of thing happens, and rightly so, that level of composure and the backup and the training as well, you said, no, it's OK, we've been, you know, you fully assured me, look, we've been trained at this, it's not a problem, you know?
It's definitely a calming influence.
Really good.
She kept us calm.
Fantastic. Credit to the...
Credit to Virgin.
Well, we're thrilled that you come in. Can we just check, have you worked out what it was? Was it just an anomaly?
They think a virus just attacked my heart. That they think I've got...
was it because Warrington lost? Is that what it was?
The performance didn't end. It's like watching West Ham, so just watch yourself.
I love the ribbing.
I've got an angiogram this week, echo next week, so they'll just keep on top of it and hopefully everything will be fine going forward.
We're thrilled that you can be here to share that story. And Zoe, to all the team, you did an incredible job. And it is, as Stuart and Carol were saying, so reassuring to know. Because often we'd all think, you know, we're up in the air, what have you got? But you're so brilliantly trained and it really came to the fore. So thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you both.
Pleasure, and
Thank you.
thanks for having Zoe on today. I mean, we didn't know,
fabulous.
you know what I mean? It was a surprise,
teary.
but absolutely brilliant.
Amazing.
Thank you.
And they've not even been married that long. This is what he's doing to her, by the way.
No.
Not already. Really?
Yeah.
You don't have to put up with him for...
When you say
that's
really,
worrying,
you're looking at my age, aren't you?
Really?
Oh, hello.
Really?
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
As one of the radio hosts on the Capital Breakfast Show alongside Jordan and Sean. Our next guest is usually the one to brighten up our mornings, but earlier this week, Chris Stark shared a very moving announcement on social media.
Yeah, Chris revealed that 2 months ago he was diagnosed with testicular cancer, and although he caught the disease early, Chris believes that he should have spotted the sites even earlier.
After making an emotional return to his radio show, Chris is with us now today alongside Dr. Zoe in the hope that his story will inspire more men to get checked. Good morning.
Morning.
mate.
Thank you. I know you weren't expecting to be sitting here and
No, I didn't have
talking
this
about
on my
this.
2025 bingo card, if I'm honest.
No, I am sure you didn't, but we're really grateful that you've come here this morning and you're going to have a chat. It was a routine doctor check, wasn't it? It wasn't to do with testicular cancer at all.
No, if I'm honest, if I'm being really honest, I don't really like going to the doctors. It's something I put off. I'd gone to the doctors about something else, and I was just really, really lucky that this doctor, who, you know, has been brilliant probably without realising here, asked me if there was anything else at all that was bothering me. And I had this little thing in the back of my head around... I'm not even sure the language that we're meant to use around this, if I'm honest. Am I allowed to say balls on
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
It's happening.
Yeah.
I had a kind of weird, not feeling, I just wasn't sure about testicular cancer or problems in that area. And I just said to him, I'm not sure really what to do.
Yeah.
Now. It was kind of, I was awkward about it.
So there
Yeah.
was something to do with your testicles that they were sore or they were a little tender?
Well, that was it. I basically just wasn't sure about everything. And whilst I was there, and he actually said to me, look, shall I just do a quick examination? And in that moment, I was like, yeah. And as he was doing that, it felt really sore on one side, but it's always felt sore. So I just put it down to, you know, if
Just
you play
one of those
football
things.
and you get someone kicks you
strain or something, yeah.
It's just something like that. And then at that point, he told me that it shouldn't really feel sore, and that could be a symptom of something else. It should be fine.
Right.
So he then sent me for an ultrasound, and at that ultrasound, I found out I have testicular cancer, or they strongly suspected it. And it was only then when they kind of made me push my fingers down on it that I could feel that lump. And I'd been avoiding that because there was a bit of a pain.
Well, because it hurt you.
But I just wrote off the pain as like, you know, it's your balls.
Aches and back. Yeah.
And that, if I'm being really honest, made me feel like an idiot, because the second I could then feel it, and the second they told me it was testicular cancer, or they thought it was, you know, I've got 2 kids, I've got a wife who I love very dearly, and I just sort of felt like, you know, you're an idiot. You're putting them...
You've kind of put these blinkers on when in the back of your head you knew something wasn't quite right.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I went to the doctors thinking that I've got testicular cancer. It was just lucky I went to the doctors, had a check. He happened to mention, you know, should have a look. And I guess that's what I really want to say today is, if this resonates with one person who maybe double thinks in the shower tonight to go check themselves, if it's a bit awkward and embarrassing, although I've got used to that embarrassment, for me to talk about on the radio or the podcast or here, I'm happy to do that if the end result is one lad checks themselves or knows they've got something going on or thinks they might, but was embarrassed to go to the doctors and just go and do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really what I want to say this morning.
I think that the importance of what happened was, even though you could trace it back, going, why on earth did I take this risk and not think about making that fuss? Fortunately, in that moment, thanks to the doctor, you did. You've had surgery. You had that quite quickly. That's all turned around, because that must be a real whirlwind as well, Chris. You know, 1 minute you've gone just to have a checkup, but the next thing, your whole world's changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had the surgery, and the surgery is, again, it feels kind of unusual discussing this morning, but so the surgery, you know, you remove a testicle, which is kind of like, it's quite big news.
Yeah.
But it was fine. Like, honestly, I became really proactive, and I was like, right, let's just get that done. I was still doing the radio at the time. I've got to be honest, I was probably quite high on medication for a couple of those days that I did. So sorry to Sean and Jordan.
Jordan said it was quite a week.
Yeah, I mean, it was wild. And I did that, and then I did the chemotherapy last week, which was a decision because it would help increase the odds of it not coming back.
Yes.
By having this one bout of chemo. You know, I'm also hyper aware that there'll be a lot of people who are watching this right now who are affected by cancer, either with a family member or someone's going through chemo and having a far harsher time than I am, which I'm very aware about when I try and talk about this, because I feel very lucky, and I'm aware that I'm a lucky one.
And so now you've done that preventative chemo, is the prognosis good?
Yeah, so my understanding of it is I'm effectively cured.
Okay.
They monitor you then every month, I think, for the next couple of years, and there is a chance this comes back. I don't know enough about it, actually, Zoe. I find myself constantly Googling, which is a terrible thing to do. But my way of dealing with all of this and being in communication with consultants and doctors has become a lot more proactive and positive. And you know, since I've been talking about it, I've been amazed by how many blokes, especially, have reached out to me in DMs and messages into the show.
Doctors have called up the show and said, oh, my goodness, the number of people that are coming in for checks now, some people have had, like, 8 a day or...
Yeah, there was a doctor who got in touch, and this was one surgery, saying they'd had 8 people ring up for appointments to get checks. Wow. Which is, you know...
that's already enough, Tris, to understand that it's made a difference.
Yeah,
you being brave and talking about it.
But what I really, really want to happen there is, like, there is a bit of a stigma around this area. We're literally talking about, you know, your privates. But just know, if you're thinking, oh, I should go to the doctors but not doing it, there are plenty of other lads who are messaging me right now who are doing it. Yeah. And I was one of those people. And I just don't want you to end up feeling like me, a bit of an idiot for not having done this sooner.
Yeah.
Zoe, just explain testicular cancer and the importance, as Chris was saying, getting it early, particularly in young men.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing about testicular cancer is that it is very treatable, and over 95% of people who get it will survive it at 5 years. But obviously, the sooner it's caught, the higher the success rates. And yours hadn't spread anywhere else, so you know your chances of it not coming back with the chemo as well are very, very good.
I'd like to think I've got more than 5 years, Zoe.
Yeah, we tend to do that measure at 5 years, because if you clear at 5 years, then you're almost definitely
you're then
good.
going onwards a bit.
Yeah, almost
All right.
definitely good.
Well,
but, you know, this is a cancer that affects young men. It's one of those rare cancers that is more common in younger people than older people. The peak sort of age is early 30s.
That surprised me as
yeah,
well.
yeah, but it typically affects people anywhere from the age of 15 up to 45. About 2,400 cases a year. And like I say, the survival is good if it's caught early. So I think what you're saying is, you know, absolutely right. If people are checking, like, you can't prevent getting testicular cancer. You haven't done anything wrong if you get it. You can't prevent it. But if you do get it and you detect it early because you're regularly checking yourself, then that's the best defence that men have.
Well, as you say, the checking is incredibly
Thank you
important.
for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And we'll see you in the morning. The popular frozen drinks designed to appeal to youngsters thanks to their sweet taste and bright colours.
Yeah, not just youngsters.
I know you love them, don't you?
Parents, though, have been warned not to give slushies to anyone under the age of 8 after a spate of children were left hospitalised after consuming the drinks.
One of those children was 3-year-old Angus, who collapsed to the floor after drinking a raspberry-flavoured slushie. Angus's mum, Victoria, joins us now alongside Dr Zoe to tell us more. So can you tell us a little bit about the day and what happened?
Yeah, so we were just heading out for the day. It was a normal day. We were all up getting ready, and our 3 oldest boys were going out for the day with our gran and granda. So myself and Dad and Angus and our wee girl Grace, we decided we'd go out for a while, and we came across a shop which had a coffee machine, and beside that was the slush machine. So Angus was like asking for the slushie, and he picked, like, of course he would pick the biggest cup that was there. And then he drank that, and he was really enjoying it. But then he was coming like quite like cold, but there was no really like obvious signs or anything like that. So we went up into our local B&M store, and he had a wee accident. Still, I didn't really think, like, I just thought it was because the slushie was like cold. It was a cold day. So I had a wee accident, and then he said he wanted to go home.
So suddenly, from being pretty
Just,
engaged
like,
and enjoying
really
himself,
fine, and then,
gets cold and says, "Mum, I want to go home."
And I had a wee accident. Then after that, he sort of walked up another wee aisle in B&M, and he said again, "Mum, I want to go home." I said, "Dad's just going for the last, like, couple of things that we need."
Yeah.
So he had, like, walked up round the corner, and I looked behind me, but because I had the pram, I hadn't noticed straight away that it wasn't beside me. So I looked back another wee bit, and it was just lying on the floor, like, really lifeless.
So, Victoria, can I ask you, had he ever had a slushie before, and how old was he?
No, he's never had a slush before, no.
Right. And how old was he when he had that?
He was 3.
So, and when you say he had an accident, he didn't make it to the toilet, so he went very cold and he peed too?
Yeah.
Right.
And then suddenly he's collapsed on the floor, Victoria. I can't begin to imagine
It
how
was
that made
really
you feel.
scary. It was just happened so quick, and I started screaming that help, and somebody phoned an ambulance. The staff members in B&M that day went above and beyond, and they were really helpful. They phoned an ambulance. One of the staff members had ran over to the local Tesco's to get the defibrillator, because they were told that on the phone, that, like, to go and collect one from the nearest point. As they were bringing it back, the ambulance arrived on scene along with air ambulance as well. And then the ambulance members came in and started working on Angus with the defibrillator. I was still screaming. I didn't know what was going on. It was just really unknown. I didn't think that that's what had made him, like, so sick that day.
So you had no idea at this stage. Suddenly your son had just collapsed for seemingly no reason.
Yeah.
and you've got paramedics working on him with a defibrillator.
Yeah.
Was he out cold, or was he fitting, or what was he like at the time? Was it like
I
he'd
think he'd had
fainted?
a seizure, but I didn't like see the full thing because at the time I had the pram, so I wasn't like, you know, fully aware until I turned the corner and thought, no, something isn't right.
Yeah. And what went through your mind at that point?
I couldn't tell you at the time. It was just so scary. I just knew there had been something wrong.
And you've got older boys as well, haven't you? Had they had slushies in the past? Have you had
They
any
had
reason?
shared one in the summertime before, but
Okay.
it wasn't something that I always went and like bought them as a treat or anything.
No, and it wasn't something that you would have thought could have caused this sort of issue. So Angus then goes to hospital and he's looked after. He stays in overnight. What did the doctors say to you about why he was there and what had happened? When did you find out?
So they had ran some like blood tests through and then came back to me and said that it was the slush puppy he'd drank that day.
And why had it caused that issue?
It was due to the glycerol that keeps it frozen.
And the glycerol means that he'd had some sort of fit because of the glycerol in his system?
Yeah.
And so then how did they treat him, and how long did it take him to get back to normal again?
He stayed in the hospital overnight just for one night with close observations, and then he got let home the next day.
And when they came to you and spoke to you about it, did the doctors say, we've seen this before, or I'd never heard of this before?
No, they did tell me that they had never, like, known anything like this before.
Wow.
Zoe, you've sat and you've listened to Victoria tell that story.
Yeah.
Any parent would be
isn't it?
absolutely terrified by what she said. Seemingly an innocuous drink that is sold and has caused this without knowing. Can you just explain a little bit about how it happened and why it happened?
Yeah, so it's the glycerol content. So glycerol is a food additive that's deemed to be relatively safe. It's in lots of foods. So I've got a list here. It's in cheeses, processed meats, sweet beverages, chewing gum, cereal bars. It's even in tortilla wraps. And what it does, especially why it's in slushy drinks, is it stops it becoming an ice solid. It stops it freezing.
Right.
So it keeps foods moist. So it's in lots of foods. But in these slush drinks in recent years, because there is pressure on the industry to remove sugar from drinks and beverages especially, the amount of glycerol has gone up. So glycerol is a sweetener, and it also stops it from freezing. So the amount of glycerol in these drinks has gone up, the concentration. Now, if you're somebody who's got a low body weight, a large slushie, there may be enough glycerol in that to cause what happened here. It's called glycerol intoxication syndrome, and it's not only happened to Angus. There are around roughly 20 children in the UK and Ireland where it's now, looking back, the BMJ have done a review and found that in small children, if they have a high enough dose, then, so Ben, you'd be fine having a slushie, but a small child may not be.
Sure.
So there is voluntary guidance from the Food Standards Agency currently, which says children under the age of 4 shouldn't have slushies, and children under the age of 8 should only have one. But the BMJ and some scientists and experts are calling for that to be changed, and either the weight of the child, but that gets very confusing for parents.
Of course.
But actually,
Put them on a weighing scales before you give them the slushy.
Yeah, so the easiest way they're suggesting is actually they should raise the age to 8. So children under the age of up to the age of 8 shouldn't have slushies at all. And really everybody should just be thinking about maybe just having one and certainly not having free refills, which are offered, I believe, in some establishments.
You're a mum,
as
though.
well.
You've got a little one.
And do you know what? It's purely by coincidence. My little one, who's 3 years old, asked me for a slushie last week. We were at a trampoline park, these sort of places.
It's always kids' places.
And there are lots of birthday parties happening there. And, of course, a slushie is not something your child should be drinking regularly anyway. There's no nutritional benefit to it. But as a treat, once in a while, alongside, other types of treats, it's something that I think we've had when we were children.
Totally. Or a candy floss at the fair.
Exactly.
It's exactly that.
So he asked me for one. And I guess it was I actually said to him, no, you can't have it till you're 12. I don't know where that came from. That just came out as a natural instinct. But, some people are calling for them to be banned together, and I completely understand why. And I think that's something that you feel, don't you? But if we start banning slushies, there are probably lots of other things out there that we should be thinking about banning as well. So demonising glycerol as a food additive on its own is probably not the answer.
No.
But I absolutely think that it is important that we're looking at how we prevent this from happening and ensure that parents are aware of the risks, which is why this is so important.
So, Dr. Zoe, if someone, just so parents are aware, because I'd never heard of this ever, and we go to exactly those places, and my kids have had a slushy before, for sure. What should you be looking for? Obviously, always get a very small one, if you can. And what are you looking for? What are the symptoms?
So the symptoms that Alfie had were quite severe. So he had this syndrome. What's actually happening in the body is your body, it's like getting dehydrated. So the glycerol actually sucks a lot of the water in the body into the blood system.
Right.
So it's a bit like when you're in a hot bath and you stand up quickly.
Yes. Okay.
So the sort of commonest symptoms are nausea and headache, and deemed quite mild. But what actually happened is you can get a low amount of volume. You can get dehydrated, essentially being dehydrated, so hypovolemic shock.
Right.
You can get a low blood glucose as well, so hypoglycemia. It alters the amount of salts in your blood, the potassium in your blood. So essentially, that can make you very, very unwell. And as we've seen in around 20 children.
Well, look, the good news is Angus is absolutely fine now. He's just over there with Vicky. Come on in, Angus. Come and say hello.
Hello,
Come see your mum.
How you doing? Yeah! Hi, gorgeous.
Hello.
Oh,
And he's doing fine now.
Mama.
He's doing so well.
And what's your advice to parents out there that have got little ones that fancy a little treat like that?
Just would not
Don't take the
recommend
risk.
it. I would rather they would get banned, but I don't think that will ever happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's lovely to see you, Angus. He's like, I don't care. I've got my mama.
He was
and I don't
bouncing around
care.
downstairs having a lovely time.
Aw.
Well, I'm glad to see that he's back and he's full of beans and everything's good.
And thank you for coming on and chatting about it, because I'd never heard of that ever before. So it's just good for everybody to be aware of.
I think there are so many people out there, this will be the first time they've become aware, and, you know, now people will take caution where they may not have done before, and that's so important.
Absolutely. Thanks, Victoria.
Thanks, Angus. Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning. Today, friend of the show, Capital FM host Chris Stark revealed his secret battle with testicular cancer in a moving post on Instagram. He said he wanted to share the news because, in his words, he felt like an idiot for not spotting the signs earlier on. His post has opened up a conversation about checking yourself regularly.
We're obviously sending all our love and support to
are,
Chris
of course.
and all of his family. But it was after checking herself that 57-year-old Nicola Deadman was diagnosed with breast cancer, meaning she needed a single mastectomy. The operation left Nicola without a nipple on her right breast.
But today, permanent makeup artist Emily Ponte will be perfecting a realistic nipple tattoo for Nicola. The pair are here to carry out the treatment live, alongside Dr. Zoe to tell us more about the process. Good morning to you all, ladies.
Morning.
I think I might have nicknamed you Nippler as well. It's really good. There's Nicolas and there's nipples involved. It's going to be quite a morning.
Yeah, it is. First of all, Zoe, let's talk to you first of all. It's so important that people check themselves, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, you know, thank you to Chris for sharing something so personal, because it will save lives. It's that reminder that whether you're male, female, any gender, we need to be checking ourselves. It's the best defence that we have against cancer, because if cancer is detected early, then we stand the best chance of survival.
And it's men and women too. That's the thing. You should both sexes should be checking their chest.
Yeah, absolutely. So breast cancer can affect men and women.
Yeah.
So, you know, we all need to be checking our breasts and chests roughly once a month. Get into the habit of doing it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. You know, the first time you're not trying to find a cancer, or you're just getting used to what's normal for you, which means that if there is a change, you've got the best chance of detecting it.
Okay. So Nicola here went through a mastectomy. Can you just explain the differences with various mastectomies?
Yeah, so mastectomy means removal of the breast.
Yeah.
So a sort of standard mastectomy, a total mastectomy, means removing the breast tissue, the skin overlying and the nipple. There are various different variations. Sometimes you can have a nipple-sparing mastectomy where the nipple remains, or a skin-sparing, especially people who are having prophylactic mastectomy, so people who are at high risk of getting breast cancer but don't have it, who can have a reconstruction immediately, then that might be offered. Sometimes people need a more radical mastectomy, which can even mean removing the muscles underlying the breast tissue. But in most cases, for people who are being treated for breast cancer, like Nicola, the nipple would be removed and can be reconstructed at a later date after all the treatment's completed and the breast has been reconstructed.
Right. So, Nicola, thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. You look so beautiful and glowing with
really
health. What was life like before your diagnosis?
Yeah, I was out there enjoying life, living it to the full. Yeah, just having fun.
Yeah. And then what happened? How did you find out about it? Because it was actually you that discovered it.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Well, I'd had a check-up in March, had a mammogram and an ultrasound and got the all clear. Then come September, I just noticed this side, the nipple was sinking in.
Right.
And I thought, first of all, given like my age, I thought, is it something to do with the menopause? So I left it a week and it happens again. So that's when then I made the phone call and it was the correct phone call.
Yeah. And you went and you got that diagnosis and you found out that it was cancerous. How did you feel when that suddenly became apparent, Nicola?
It was a shock, but I'm under the Royal Marsden in South Kent, who are absolutely amazing. So I knew straight away I was in the safest hands ever, and that they said this is treatable and curable. So once I knew that, it was like, OK, let's get this show on the road. Let's sort out this little problem and get it gone.
I love your positive attitude. It's literally like, let's sort out this little problem. Let's just deal with it. So what was the course of treatment? So first of all, you had an operation.
Yeah.
Then what happened?
So I had the mastectomy in December 2023 with instant reconstruction, and I had the DIEP flap, so it's where they took my stomach muscles and stomach skin and rebuilt me.
Right.
And then where they'd removed 6 lymph nodes, unfortunately, it was in all 6 lymph nodes. So straight away they said, well, you've got to have chemo. So I had, in the February, 8 rounds of chemo, which took me up to June.
Yeah.
Because it had been in the lymph nodes, they then wanted to do the axillary clearance and remove the rest of my lymph nodes. So I had that the 10th of July, and then the 19th of August, I started radiotherapy, and I had 15 rounds of radiotherapy to the 6th of September, and then I went back to work on the 16th of September.
Wow.
She's a hero.
Just get on with it.
She's a hero,
and
gladiator.
how have you been since then? What's been that process like?
To be honest, if you probably ask my friends, I've not really changed. I'm still go out and party and still enjoy life, and even more so now.
Yeah, quite
Even
right
more
too,
so.
because there's a value to it you can really appreciate. But of course, you had the mastectomy and you had the nipple removed as well.
Yes.
So is that something that you've been considering? Is what you could do about that?
Yeah, it's something that I've wanted done, but you have to go on a waiting list for it, and obviously because it's cosmetic and not urgent, hospitals obviously want to deal with the cancer issues, which understandably that does come first. So yeah, I'm just on a waiting list to have this done. And I've got this opportunity to get it done today.
Right, and the person doing that is Emily. Good morning.
Morning,
Emily.
Good morning.
So tell us a little bit about the procedure and what exactly you're going to be doing.
So the procedure is like a realistic tattoo.
Right.
And we are, using kind of highlights and shading to create that kind of depth, so it looks like a 3D areola stroke nipple.
Right.
So obviously, because you've had Nicola's had a single mastectomy, she still has the other nipple on that side. So the key is to try and match that together. So trying to match up colours, match up obviously the positioning, which we have done some measurements already.
You first met a couple of weeks ago, didn't you? Had the initial consultation.
Yeah. So we had the consultation where we go through, obviously all the medical history, what Nicola's been through. Again, you said positive, that she's just amazing.
Brimming with it. If you could bottle your positivity, that's what you want to do.
So we went through the consultation, and that's when I was going through, just getting those rough measurements just to see how, and then going through colours and things, so I know kind of what I'm going to be using on her. And that's usually what the consultation process is.
And Nicola, as Emily said, it's important that we kind of match both breasts up. So you're OK with
I'm
this
really
morning?
happy. I can't wait for it to get
You're
done.
very comfortable to do it live on television.
Yes.
I mean, doing this, Nicola, is an extraordinary thing for you to share, and hopefully will make everybody else at home, sitting at home, feel sort of more empowered to feel like they could have it done as well.
That's what I'm hoping.
I think there's still so much stigma around breasts, isn't there? But they're a part of our bodies, and we are going to, Nicola's, very brave. We're going to see the reconstructed breast and briefly see Nicola's other breast today as well, so that people can understand.
Okay. Well, Emily, if you'd like to get started, and Nicola.
Yeah, so we're going to show just what we've done just so far. So obviously this is the breast that we're going to be working on, and so as you can see here, this is obviously where she's had the operation, the D at flap. This is just a little mock-up. Obviously, it's not going to look like that when it's finished. Yeah. That's just purely like a guide. And then obviously we are just going to show the other side just quickly, just so you can kind of see. Yeah. Now Nicola's other breast is actually quite pale. Yeah. So what we may do is actually match up a little bit that colour. So although I want to match that up, I feel like this needs a little bit of additional colour as well, just to kind of get it as close as possible.
So you will add colour to the right breast to match, sorry, the left breast to match the right breast?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I will do this first, and I'll work with some kind of light sort of pinks, and get that initial template on, and then obviously we will then match up to the other side. Okay. So that's kind of.
And in terms of we were talking permanent tattoo. This isn't like a tattoo if you're going to go to a tattoo parlour, is it? What's the sort of the scenario and the pain?
It's not. It's very similar. I feel like there's a misconception in the industry that we do permanent makeup, stroke semi-permanent makeup, and tattooing is different. It's pretty much the same. Oh, okay. We use tattoo pens the exact same. We use the pigments the same. There's different variations of pigments and inks that you can use. Tattooists might call it slightly differently. Right. But when it comes to putting it into the skin, the depth is the same. So it's a tattoo. It's a cosmetic tattoo.
Tattoos tend to hurt, though.
Yes, I was just about to ask that question.
I don't have a tattoo, but one of my friends that have had them say that they aren't comfortable things to go through.
Again, it depends on the technician. It depends on how they work, on how superficial the work, or how... I'm quite a light-handed worker, so I tend to work quite light, but just add layers over time. Also, when we're dealing with a mastectomy, you'll find that tissue is numb. You don't feel nothing. So she may feel a little bit on the other side, but we're not going to do much on the other side, because we're just going to add a little bit to the areola area. And I work very lightly, so it's actually not really painful at all. But this side, she shouldn't feel anything.
And what's the response normally like from women after you do this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's very mixed, but it's an emotional journey. Yeah. I think from my point of view, I just feel honoured to be able to give back, and you'll make me cry, and to be able to just almost be that end part of their journey, because I think they've been through so much, and it obviously has been such an emotional ride. So, yeah.
Should we get started?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Otherwise, you're just going to be
weeping women around.
If we introduce a little bit of pain, then it might stop everyone crying.
I cry when I see people cry, so...
If you want to sit back...
yes, so we're going to take this one off, because we have a disposable gown. Yes. So when I'm working, because we're doing, obviously, tattooing, we're piercing the skin. So I'm going to pop this somewhere.
Here,
thank you.
Yeah.
Right then, Nicola.
Yeah, good.
OK, so obviously I'm going to start on this side. We've got our measurements already. Yeah. So it's really a case of just kind of reinforcing some of those areas, just to give me a bit more of a template. I change needles. I do, various different techniques throughout my...
It's incredible that you can do this, though. Absolutely incredible.
OK, so...
So I imagine that you've seen a fair few sort of reconstructions like this and bits and pieces, so you'll have seen the difference that it makes to the patient as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as Emily was saying, it really is that final stage in the journey, because often women will have the breast reconstructed, and it's even if the NHS service is operating perfectly and they don't have to wait, women will still wait at least 3 months, usually more like 6 months before they have the breast reconstruction. That's because once the breast is reconstructed, over the next few months, it will settle into its final position. So in order to work out the correct placement for the nipple, so it really is that kind of final bit of the journey before they then go and, get on with their new life.
But it also must make the biggest kind of mental difference to them as well, because it's never just about the physical, it's never just about the outward appearance.
100%, the quality of life, and, we're still quite... There's more to be done, because I think when it comes to supporting women on that journey, particularly, women of colour, when it comes to ensuring that another thing you can get a silicone nipple that can be glued into place. They last about 3 months, but, we're now on the cusp of making sure that there's a full range of skin tones, etc.
So, Emily, just sort of explain what it is that you're doing.
So here I'm doing, obviously, where I've got my template with the pencil in, Now I just want to reinforce that very gently, so it's just getting that little template in. Like I say, at the end, it's not going to look flat.
Yes.
Afterwards, I am going to be starting to use some shading and highlights throughout to create that kind of depth and 3D appearance.
Yeah.
So I just go very lightly just to check. So you can see already I've got like a template in there. So I work really lightly. How do you feel, Nicola?
Fine.
Yeah.
Can't feel a thing.
You can't feel anything at all? Excellent.
So can't feel a thing.
We're going to let you guys carry on, let you work a little bit of magic, and we'll check back in with you later.
Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're amazing, Nicola.
Yeah, you are.
Thank you, Zoe. Thank you.
Earlier, we met 57-year-old cancer survivor Nicola, who this morning has had a nipple reconstruction tattoo by expert Emily Ponte.
Yeah, Dr. Zoe's alongside Emily and Nicola. So it was more or less over an hour you've been having the procedure done. You just got to have a good look at it downstairs. This is the moment that sort of you were able to really examine, Nicola, how the tattoo's looking. Let's just see this.
Go for it.
Oh wow, that's looking human again.
What do you think of the colour?
Oh, bless you.
You've been so courageous and brave, Nicola. A testament to your energy and who you are in life is about living, and you were very honest about being able to share this experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you want to have a proper look at it as well, but how has it been for you and how do you feel about it?
It's just, I can't thank her enough what she's done. It's actually been a pleasure. It's just, yeah, I didn't feel anything when she was doing it. It's like, I was having a little lay down, basically.
Not quite the same as usual lay down for a live telly. Emily, there's a moment there, though, when you heard Nicola say, it looks human. You know, that's such an important sort of bit of credit and sort of identifying that, the reality of that for...
It's just, it's such, like I say, it's such a humbling process that we go through, and it is emotional because it's that final stage, you know, when they've been through so much, and then to kind of get that final... Yeah, I think we just take for granted having two of things, you know, two nipple, you know, two areola areas. We kind of take that for granted, I think. So when someone has lost that, just being able to give that back is just, it's amazing.
How will it affect your self-confidence, do you think, Nicola? Because we were talking with Zoe earlier, and it's not just the physical thing that you go through with cancer, it's also the mental stress.
Yeah, it just, I don't know, it will make me feel more confident. You know, I can't describe it. Like I said, it just makes me feel human again. I've got my body back.
Zoe, what should people be doing to make sure that they're checking themselves?
Yeah, I mean, the advice is to check roughly once a month. Nicola wanted me to mention she didn't have a lump. She had a lobular breast cancer, which usually doesn't cause a lump. So it's not just lumps you're looking for, it's any changes to the skin, to the nipple, any puckering in of the skin or the nipple, which is what Nicola had, or any changes to the size or shape of the breast. And both men and women need to be checking. I think people often get bogged down with how do you check? What's the correct technique? How do you do it? Do you know what? Doesn't matter as long as you're doing it in a way that you're checking the entire breast. So you can do something called a spiral technique, start in the middle, around the nipple, and feel all the area all the way around in circles, including the top bit of the chest, just up above the collarbone and the armpit. For men, it might be easier to, I call it the lawnmower technique. Make sure you do all that area. If you have larger breasts, imagine your breast in 4 quarters. That can make it easier. And Dr. Sarah's got a tutorial on the This Morning app where she demonstrates how to do that with larger breasts.
And I think with men or with women, it's also just to be vigilant. Be vigilant of changes, because that's what you really notice. Any changes that you see, any changes that you feel, don't just put it to the back of your mind, go and see a doctor.
And I think if it's not normal for you, then go and get it checked out.
Yeah.
And people have changes with their menstrual cycle before menopause. So, you know, in that case, if you think it might just be down to your cycle, monitor it for 2 weeks. But if it hasn't gone away after 2 weeks, get it checked.
Emily, can I just ask, how long will the tattoo last? Will Nicola need some sort of moments to come back and have it
So she'll come back in about 6 to 8 weeks for a touch-up. It's almost that perfection stage. They tend to fade a little bit upon healing. Obviously, when you have had a mastectomy, you're dealing with scar tissue. So scar tissue can be quite unpredictable as well. It's obviously a little bit more tender, more sensitive, a little bit tougher to work on. So you might find a little bit more fade in, so that second stage. And then after that, you're looking at, it lasts for years. It's in the skin kind of relatively indefinitely, but it will just fade over time. So, you know, anything between 2 to kind of 5 years is you'd come back for a touch-up. So it's very much a personal thing, and as you know, how it might be they want to come back and get them a bit darker, or but I just wanted to highlight that it's just kind of almost raising awareness for this service as well. I think I'm really shocked at the amount of people that come into my clinic that do not know that this is available. And myself, as well as lots of amazing artists up and down the country, do offer this for free. We do monthly free clinics, and yeah, just want people to reach out really, because it's, you know, it does build up that confidence. So,
and the difference that's made, you can already see it in you there,
and we haven't actually even finished it either.
You've not quite finished. There's more to do.
Not quite finished it. It's kind of, you know, we want to get a little bit more in there, but yeah.
It's been lovely to have you sparkling on the sofa.
An amazing teamwork of ladies, right? Collection of ladies
and
right there on the sofa.
I christened you Nicola this morning as well.
You have to rename me.
I like it.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
From the House of Commons to the gates of the scriptwriter's son's school, creator Jack Thorne is here now to tell us about the incredible reaction that the drama has had. Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations. It's so rare that something that's written so brilliantly, shot so beautifully, creates such a conversation amongst everybody. Doesn't matter where you're from, what your background is, so many people are talking about this show. Did you ever expect it to be that huge?
No, not to any degree. It's been overwhelming, to be honest. What I did know was that I was working with the most extraordinary group of people and that we'd made something that we were incredibly proud of. And Netflix were excited by it, and then they put it on and it's just exploded, and we're all sort of reeling from it.
I bet. It's a bit overwhelming, I'd imagine.
Yeah. And I'm not used to it. I've been writing TV for 20 years. I've been trying to write drama that has impact for 20 years, and then this show has just sort of slammed through many doors that I've wanted to be open for a long time.
You and Stephen have this extraordinary relationship, which is really, really palpable. Can I ask a question? Because, of course, as Kat said, it's beautifully shot, it's extraordinarily acted, it's so well written. What came first? Did the idea of doing a one-shot drama come before the content, or was it the content that Stephen had that then sort of lent itself to the one-shot drama?
So Stephen and Phil Barantini, our amazing director, made this film Boiling Point. And Plan B, which is Brad Pitt's company, brought Phil in to talk to them and said, what about trying to do something in the television space? What about trying to do a one-shot TV drama? And he said, oh, that could be really interesting. And he took it to Stephen, and Stephen said, I'd like to look at knife crime. And that was the starting point of all our conversations. And then, thankfully, he brought me into the mix, and I was like, yes, please, show me where to sign.
It's amazing, isn't it, how they all sort of complement each other so brilliantly.
And, like, right place, right time, too. How much did you know about toxic masculinity before you started writing, and how much did you then reveal the layers of the onion and suddenly understand more?
So when Stephen first talked to me about it, the one sort of stipulation he made was, I don't want this to be a drama that blames the parents.
Yes, which I think is really clever.
It's really important.
Yes.
And that thing of just going, this is not going to be about an alcoholic, abusive dad. This is not going to be about controlling mum. This is not going to be that sort of story. We want to look inside this all. But that then left an issue of how do we create this boy? And we wanted it to be that blame is diffuse, you know, that it's not just as simple as going, it's this, it's that, it's the other. But we did need more than we had. And someone that worked with me, Mariella Johnson, said, I think you should look at incel culture. And I had some understanding of it and some, you know, I'd read articles about it, but I hadn't really gone down those holes. And then I spent a long time in a lot of very strange places, looking at a lot of strange content. And the thing that surprised me was how attractive it was.
Which is so frightening.
It's so frightening. Yeah. And that thing of going, if I was a 13-year-old boy and I was told there is a reason why you feel unattractive, there's a reason why you feel isolated, there's a reason why you're not sure how to talk in certain situations, and that's because the world is against you. And the reason why the world is against you is because 80% of women are attracted to 20% of men. This world is female-dominated, and you need to find ways to reset the balance. And the more of these videos I watched, the more convincing I found it. And that's when I started to work out how we could write Jamie.
I mean, you're a father yourself, of course.
Yes.
You know, we've all got boys. Like, my boys are sort of a bit older, your boys are not very far off.
Mine's
Jamie's age.
9 and 6, so I'm like 4 years out.
Yeah, my boy's almost 9.
Yes.
So I'm in exactly the same place. Exactly the same place.
And there will be parents who are watching it and undoubtedly have watched it, and it will be terrifying. I mean, it's up the anxiety levels for parents trying to navigate those things.
Yes.
There's a responsibility that comes with that, Jack, isn't there?
There is. And what we're not saying with this show is that there's loads and loads of Jamies out there, that there's, you know, that because your son is in his room and he's shut the door, that means that he's going to inflict harm on another person. We don't want to be a show that suggests that. Jamie is a product of a lot of different things, but at the same time, being aware of what your kid is consuming, being aware of what's out there, I think is really important. And it's awoken anxiety in me, and it's awoken conversations with my wife about how we handle all this and how we help Elliot through it all.
The fact that it's been talked about in government, the fact it's been talked about absolutely everywhere is testament to that.
Did that amazing speech too.
Yeah, Gareth Southgate, the Dimbleby lecture. I asked the viewers for some questions for you.
Brilliant.
I'd like to share these for me. Sharon says, are we going to get a second series exploring Katie's story? And Kathy along that saying, the last episode, it feels like it's left it open for more. I know you're still reeling right now from the impact of this, but would the two of you be up for trying to do more if the opportunity was there?
I'd say 2 things to that. The first is, I don't think we're the right people to tell Katie's story.
Okay.
So I think there are other makers out there that could tell beautiful dramas about Katie or girls like Katie, and that those shows should be made. Our aim was to try and tell Jamie's story as fully as we possibly could. And maybe trying to tell her story would dilute that in some way, or maybe we would be inadequate to that task. The second thing in terms of a second series is I think Jamie's story is finished. I don't think there's anywhere more we can take Jamie. So I don't think there is a series 2. We'd love to explore the one-shot format in another way. We'd love to tell other stories with it, but I don't think a series 2 of Adolescence is quite right for us.
It's so interesting how you say Jamie's story is finished, but so many other little boys and little girls' stories are just beginning.
Yes.
Where would you like to see this going? What would you like to see the influence of this amazing drama?
I hope what this show does is it doesn't provide easy answers. It doesn't say, this is the way to solve this, this is the way to do that. I hope what it provokes is conversations on the sofa, conversations in classrooms, hopefully conversations in government. You know, when I was a kid, watching EastEnders with my mum and talking to her about what was on EastEnders that week, they were the best conversations we had. They were the best. They were the bits where we got inside what it is to be a human, you know, and what you... And those have been the best emails I've got about this too, has been, like, people saying, I've had conversations with my kid that I've never had before because of this show. And that is where I hope our sweet spot is, in creating conversation.
You've done exactly that. Anthony says this is one of the best series I've watched in a long time. Great acting, it was real, raw, emotional. The strong message was loud and clear. The ending was perfect. Susan, Adolescence is absolutely brilliant. A sensitive eye-opener for all. Thank you for everything. Jack,
That's
honestly,
very kind.
it is an extraordinary bit of drama. We've loved it, and we will continue to talk about it as well. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. You can watch Adolescence on Netflix now, and Owen Cooper, who plays Jamie, will be live on Thursday.
Can't wait to meet him as well.
He's amazing.
So much to talk to. Thanks for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
We're having presents already and we haven't even started
This is
chatting
amazing.
yet.
So, hold on, Maggie, you've just given me this, or I pinched it. Tell me what's in here.
So 2 bracelets that I made and some confetti things from...
Actual golden buzzer confetti. That is really precious. That's amazing. Thank you so much. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, and then Katie just gave me a headband as well that one of the mums has been making. Is that right?
Got loads of those.
Love
Gorgeous.
it. Love it. Thank you so much. Well, we've been joined now by Electric Umbrella founders Tom Billington and Mel Boda, alongside some of their incredible bandmates, Katie, Jamie, Maggie, Jonathan and Raphael. First of all, have to say, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I mean, it was the most spectacular piece of TV. You were sat there with your kids.
Yeah.
I was sat there with my kids. We were all crying, all cheering.
Yeah, you made us cry.
It was brilliant.
Thank you.
It was just the most remarkable thing
Thank you so
to
much.
watch. It was so
Yes.
joyous. How did it feel for all of you guys?
It felt like we've been doing this for 10 years. So every day we're out in schools, we're bringing people together, we're running sessions, we're building instruments, we're reimagining things and people and writing songs and all that. And that happens all day, pretty much every day of the week.
Yeah.
So for us, it was like a real moment of coming together, that all of that, suddenly people are starting to see us, see our guys as the rock stars that we actually are. And just, yeah, hopefully it'll mean next time they're interacting with someone who looks or sounds different or has a different a way of working, that they'll just have that little bit more of understanding of what it's all about.
But there was all of you on the stage as well, which was so powerful. And the fact that you did an original song as well. What was the song called and who wrote it?
What was the song?
It's called Acceptance, and it's basically all of us, and I start the first line.
I know, Katie, you were the first person to start. Were you not terrified?
A tiny bit terrified.
Oh, would it be really?
It's a tiny bit.
Because there's so many people out there as well. What did you think when you went on the stage and you saw all the audience and all those people?
It was very excited because you wouldn't expect such a big crowd of them to watch us, but it was very good and everyone had fun. So.
Listen, they didn't just watch you, they stood up, they clapped, they cheered,
they sang.
cried, they loved it. They didn't just watch you.
Now, you were sitting in the audience, of course, right? And you have helped create Electric Umbrella. And I can't imagine how nervous you must have been, like a sort of expectant mum sitting and watching your family and you're there performing, and then to feel the energy around you must have been just fabulous.
It was amazing. I didn't actually know what to look at. I actually didn't watch the performance. I was watching the reaction of the audience, and it was the feeling, the energy in the room, that we could really feel it. Everybody was stamping their feet. Felt like, you know, this thunder for Electric Umbrella. It was so exciting, and I felt it was shocking. There was like a lag between everybody celebrating and me thinking, ooh, what's happening?
Yeah. And Jonathan, Mel just said that it was shocking. Did you ever expect Simon to stand up for the second time and press that golden buzzer?
Never in a billion years, triple billion years. I love Simon, and I love him even more now. I can't even, my brain can't even process it yet.
Yeah.
It's just wild to me.
Jamie,
it really is.
We were watching you perform on Saturday, and it was spectacular watching you. And I know that you think the way you look is important, isn't it, for a rock star?
Yeah, it is.
What did you think watching it back? How did you feel?
The way I feel is like being a rapper, like, because I made some in this book.
So you've got your raps there?
Yeah. And
Doesn't go anywhere without it, do you, Jamie?
Yeah. And also, like, the way I feel, like, about that buzzer with someone called Man, it's like my idol. Yeah.
And he's put you through to the
I
semi-finals
know.
as well.
He's actually quite a softie, I think,
Yeah.
Simon Cowell. Do you know
Despite
what I mean?
the hard experience.
He pretends to be really tough, but I think he's actually quite a softie. Maggie, what was it like for you? Was it beyond your wildest dreams? And how were Ant and Dec with you? Do I need to phone them up and tell them? Were they behaving themselves?
Yeah.
What was the moment like when he pressed the buzzer and all the glitter started coming down?
Well, I thought he was going to say, sorry, I can't give you a golden buzzer. So it was all an ultra shock for me. But when he did, I was just really excited with everyone and immediately went to get some.
There was a great sense of togetherness, I think, is what we can all say.
Yeah.
That the young people from the school that were with us and our guys, we've all become very, very comfortable in each other's presence. And that, I think, really came across. You can see how cool that all of these kids were amongst all of us who are just these kind of, like, gregarious, different. We all look different. We all sound different. But the work that we've done in this, particularly in this one school, but in schools in general, has really helped for these young people to really kind of understand us for who we are.
I think it's a wonderful blend of lots of people from different backgrounds, different experiences. Raphael, you've been part of Electric Umbrella for quite a while now. What is it that you love most about being with these guys?
Well, it's just so amazing to be with them. They just teach you so much. They teach you that you should never judge people by their appearances and you should always accept them for who they are. And it's just amazing to have them in our school and, yeah, it's brilliant.
Where were you watching when the show went out live? Were you with your family? Were you all together?
We actually went to the Warner Brothers Studios to watch
Yeah, Warner Brothers.
You went to the Warner Brothers Studios?
We're from Watford.
Of course,
it's at Leavesden.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So we were looking for a space where we could all get together and someone at Warner Brothers said, you can come and...
Pretty rock and roll.
Here.
Yeah,
Lovely,
and
wasn't it?
that was so nice of them getting... it was so nice of them to allow us to be there and watch it rather than...
Have that moment together.
Have that moment together, because it wouldn't be like that if it wasn't...
So did everyone have a pint of butterbeer while you were watching?
It wasn't quite like that.
It wasn't.
It wasn't quite
I like the
like
idea
that.
of it. But the question is, so I'm semi-final.
Yes.
Semi-final coming up.
Because the song was one that you wrote yourself, which was a fabulous song anyway. I mean, it's a brilliant pop song. We've got Deacon Blue coming in later. You must speak to Ricky and Lorraine
do a
about
cover.
it.
It'd be great.
They're over there. I'm sure they've seen it, but it's a beautifully constructed song anyway. What about the semi-final?
The great thing about Electric Umbrella, dare I say it, is that we've got so many good songs. We've been releasing stuff since 2017. Our first record came out, and we have got so many choices. So actually, we're a little spoilt for choices at the moment. So we'd be interested to see if people listen to our stuff, see which one they think we should do. We've got a pretty good idea of where it's going to go. We've got about a month now to kind of get that together. Easter kind of lands in the middle of that, so we've got to work around that.
Yeah. But so not too much chocolate then, because you've got a big performance.
We've got a lot
to do.
Jamie, try and keep Jamie off the chocolate.
That's true.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Well, we can't wait to see what happens next, you guys. Can't wait. Looking forward to it.
It was a very, very special moment, as Britain's Got Talent can do. But to meet Electric Umbrella, what you represent and who you are is magical. Can't wait to see what's coming next.
Yeah.
So thank you all for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As well.
Cheering you on for sure. Thank you, Jonathan.
you.
Thank you. Britain's Got Talent continues this Saturday at 7 p.m. on ITV1.
Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning. All of that, though, our next guest's life was changed forever when she took an at-home DNA test.
Victoria Hill discovered that her biological father wasn't the man who raised her, but her mother's fertility doctor.
And there was one more devastating twist when she found out that her ex-boyfriend was actually her half-brother.
As she shares this shocking story, Victoria is joining us live from her home in Connecticut. Good morning to you, Victoria. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Good morning. I wanted to start off by saying, first of all, you were looking into your DNA background, not because you suspected something, but because you've had medical conditions.
Yeah, there just had been some health things going on that I just was looking for some clarity on. You know, I was a little curious about, heritage, and I had heard about the commercial DNA testing being able to provide a whole host of information. And so I thought it would be helpful and maybe clue me into some health clues in approaching my doctors with what I had going on. Never in a million years did I think I would find out all that I had.
So you never suspected this at all. So what happened the day when you got all the information back?
Yeah, so, it was a few days. I got the information and I very quickly just went to go look at the health stuff, and I had seen some half-siblings pop up, but I very quickly just dismissed it and thought it was an error, just, maybe it was some first or second cousins and it wasn't accurate, and so I kind of pushed it aside, but then I kept getting an email from a woman who I later found out was my half-sister saying, there's some information here, let us know if you need or want to know more. And I, kind of thought it was like a 23andMe kind of gimmick, trying to get me to purchase the next plan up. But as she continued to push, she said, did your mother go to Yale Fertility Treatment Clinic to get help for fertility? And so when she had said that, it got my attention because I did know that much. I knew that my parents had struggled with fertility. and went out to Yale to get help. And so she had my attention, and then she gave me the rest of the information, was that this doctor, my mother's fertility doctor, was in fact my biological father.
See, I mean, it's an extraordinary thing to hear that, Victoria, from us sitting here. How did it feel for you to suddenly get that information?
It was pretty surreal. It definitely took a little while to set in. I have to say that growing up, there was a part of me that felt a little different or distant. I mean, we used to have a joke that between my father and I that the only thing that was similar was our hands. So it was, in some weird ways, it kind of clicked, but then, you know, it just seemed so bizarre, you know, in the different stages of it. Not only is it not the man who raised me, biological father, but my mother's doctor that she went to for over 8 years of treatment trying to conceive. And then kind of bringing her the news and sharing that with her. I mean, she was not aware of this as well. So it was something that we kind of sat through together a bit.
The idea, I mean, it's extraordinary, the idea that the doctor that was treating your mum for fertility used his own specimen to inseminate her, and also, clearly, what has become more and more apparent, lots and lots of other women too.
I mean, we know now over 80 doctors that have done this. And
so it was quite a common practice. Were there no regulations about it, Victoria?
No, and there really still are not. And that's why we're fighting so more. And that's why I'm bringing this story out, is to raise the awareness so that we can get some better laws and protections regulations out there.
Your mum's doctor is called Dr. Caldwell. Have you ever spoken to him? I know he passed away quite recently, but did you ever speak to him? Did you ever find him? Did you ever go to his house?
Yes, absolutely. So a couple, I would say, days to a week after, I spent a lot of time trying to find information on him, and I figured out that he lived about 45 minutes from me. So I got in my car one day and I drove to his house. And I didn't really have much of a plan, but as I got there, I just felt like my body was going through the motions of just, you know, pull up the driveway, go to the door, knock on the door, and I did. And so his wife let me in, which was very kind. I can only imagine what was going through her mind. And I talked to him, and that's where he very readily admitted that, yes, this is something he did. And he, you know, did it for over probably 20 years. When you asked him how many times, he just kind of shook his head. He had no idea. And when you asked him why, he was in the business of making babies. And there wasn't a lot of remorse. There wasn't a lot of concern. It was just this very matter-of-fact way of answering.
So you had no sense of professional compromise or moral compromise over what he had done at all?
No, I mean, the impression that I got was just, your mother wanted a baby, she got a baby. Wow. It was just that this was, I believe he might, he was a big part of founding the Yale Fertility Clinic, and so this was his life, and I can only imagine, obviously, you know, the extreme measures that he went through to make this program work, which creates this like cognitive dissonance, because on one hand, you know, everybody asks, like, aren't you happy to be alive? And your mother wanted a child and she got a child. But on the other hand, I didn't want to be a product of fertility fraud. My mother didn't consent to his sperm, and I didn't consent to having, you know, a growing number of siblings that will continue to grow, especially if he really did donate for over 20 years.
So you just mentioned then half siblings. How many do you know you have right now? And I think you're in very close proximity to each other. I think 4 you went to high school with.
Yeah, it's at 25 right now that we know of, and just every few months the number just continues to grow. I went to elementary school with a half sibling, you know, that we just recently learned about, and there was 4 siblings in the same high school. And I mean, this was within a like maybe 50-minute radius. And a lot of us are in New England still.
Goodness me. And of course, one of the things about this that is all the more jaw-dropping is you sat talking with 2 or 3 of your friends about what you had discovered, and then one of them, who happened to have been an ex-boyfriend, realised that the same thing had happened to him as well.
Yeah, it felt, you know, we figured it out. There's a high school reunion, and I started sharing the information with some close friends, and fast forward to a dinner where some of us continued to get together. And yeah, it was at that time that, as I'm telling this story, my high school boyfriend and now friend kind of started to look Like he was turning something over in his head because his mother had recently also told him that. The reason why him and his brother, also a really good friend of mine, his mother went out for fertility treatment with his father. And so Yale was kind of it at the time. So we just kind of assumed that she must have gone to the same place. And, you know, he ultimately called his mother, and his mother confirmed that the same doctor had done her procedure. And so then it was a waiting game, and we all just kind of sat there in disbelief that this was something we were even entertaining, and we made jokes, but it just felt very surreal. And sure enough, within a couple of weeks, you know, he sent me the screenshot that said, "You are my sister." And, you know, the mind-boggling thing about it was just, as he sent me this screenshot, it also, you know, you have the notification on your phone from 23andMe, you have a new half-sibling. And so just that realization, it felt like I was on the Truman Show. Like it's just one next thing that hits after another, and we still don't know what's to come.
No, it must have been terrifying, just even that thought of, you know, he's your half-brother who was your boyfriend, but then you also look to the future, and all of a sudden, of course, you know, there are other children involved that are now first cousins, but you don't necessarily know who they all are or where they all are. How are you looking at the future now, Victoria?
Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm doing this, because I want my daughter, who's 8 years old, she's very much aware, you know, at her level as to what's going on, but I want her to be aware. I want her to know that she's going to have a lot of cousins, and we're going to have a lot of family members that, you know, we could choose what we do with those relationships, whether or not we want to get close, but then also in dating and romantic relationships, it's going to be important for her and my son to also be aware, and to all of us, you know, all of the half-siblings that I have and our children. I think there's about 50 first cousins that we know of in the New England area right now.
But so, as Kat said earlier, Victoria, Dr. Caldwell passed away a few weeks ago. Has he ever faced any legal proceedings? Is Yale Fertility going to face any legal proceedings? Because, of course, there's so many of you that have been affected, and you're trying to get the rules changed, aren't you?
Right, yeah. I mean, there are some cases right now, but they're really not going anywhere because they can't. There's an issue of statute of limitations, you know, current or non-existent, you know, fertility fraud laws, which is why we're pushing so hard. There's 2 active suits right now, but again, I think it's kind of more of just trying to show that this wasn't okay, and allowing the victims to have a voice. But I, unfortunately, am not too optimistic about where the cases will actually go until there's better laws and protections in place.
We did reach out to Yale Fertility, but we haven't heard back from them. It's an extraordinary story, Victoria. You're very brave sharing it as well, but the importance of it is clear. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for taking time to hear this and help me raise awareness.
Thank you, Victoria.
Just a remarkable, remarkable story.
And no limits on the donations or the amount of children that people have.
And a seeming disregard.
Yes.
For any concern as to what he had done and how he'd done it.
Oh,
hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
We are joined now by disability lecturer Dr. Erin Pritchard and former performer still, Tune Tan. Good morning to you both. You're still performing, aren't you, Tune?
Yes, absolutely.
OK, lovely. Erin, I just got to start with yourself because you had a lot of input in this film. You've actually helped direct these magical creatures, and did you help develop them?
Not so much the magical creatures, but the script development and other things within the film, which is kind of difficult to talk about because it's only been released today, so I'm not sure when I can say everything. But I was told when I was asked back in 2021 that they were going to be CGI, these CGI magical creatures. And I thought, well, yeah, because they're not people with dwarfism. They are Norse mythology dwarfs, like leprechauns and stuff, which are not, you know, which is something that most people with dwarfism distance themselves from. And so I felt, right, because they've not got actors with dwarfism, that doesn't mean you can't have an actor with dwarfism doing something else in a film. Because if you just reduce them to that, what are you giving them, basically?
I guess what I was a bit confused about was looking at the trailer there, it looks pretty much like it's CGI dwarfs. So if it's CGI dwarfs, then why didn't they just use actors who were dwarfism?
Well, there's 2 reasons with that. One, they're more like, say, these, you know, different, like, gnome types sort of things. And secondly, most people with dwarfism who are professional actors who have a background in, you know, performing arts, and like Danny Wood graduated from Temple University, Kieran Stamell has a background in performing arts. They won't touch this with a barge pole because they know the implications it has for the rest of us.
What is the implications of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? Then? What is the problem with this actual story? Because it seems like it's all right for dwarfs to play dwarf characters in some films, but not in others. So what is the issue with this film?
Well, when Walt Disney created it in 1937, obviously it was based on Grimm's fairy tale, but he based the depiction of the dwarfs on freak show representations. Now, you know, the freak shows, we left them in the past because the ethical implications of seeing a disabled person as something you can stare at, a novelty, laugh at, and inferior. So now, like, you know, as my research shows, when people with dwarfism, such as myself and any other person with dwarfism, they get asked, who's happy? Are you happy? Where's Snow White? Oh, she's grumpy. It'll be on social media. Oh, look, she's grumpy. You know, where's your 6 little friends? And start singing hi-ho at you. So there was a lawyer in Germany, and she went up to cross-examine a witness. He burst out laughing at her and started singing hi-ho in a court of law.
But
she was the lawyer, but the witness burst out laughing
But I guess
at her.
you could argue that this is an opportunity, given the world we live in now, to reframe that narrative using actors with dwarfism. Can we bring Tuna? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, from my experience, I've done pantomime, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and I think people can differentiate, you know, from a movie to real life. And I think people that are going to make fun of you, they, you know, look for a way to do it. I personally go out and people are like, oh, isn't it past your bedtime? You know, where's your mum at? They'll ask questions like, is it all in proportion? So I think they'll pick at anything, and I think those types of people. But people with common awareness, they will, you know, show respect.
Tune, what would getting a role like this do for you?
It would be massive. You know, a lot of people, a lot of famous actors now have used these as stepping stones, these kind of roles. They've done pantomime, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and we've always felt respected. So now they're doing big things, a lot of my colleagues, in massive movies.
Doctor, do you think dwarf actors who choose these kind of roles have some sort of responsibility to bear?
Yeah, because if you notice, the ones that actually have made it big, like Peter Dinklage, Meredith Eaton, Kieran Stamell, Fran Mills, they've never touched this role. Because if it's like a poison chalice, if you do this, they're not going to take you seriously because they're just going to see you as this person, oh, you sneezed a couple of times, well done. You know, and yes, people should differentiate between fiction and reality, but as I've shown, they don't. And, you know, I had one woman saying to me, my daughter finds people like you hilarious. Will you dress up as Hello Kitty for her birthday party? Because that's what they see as us. So when, you know, and if you want to play that role, Disney, first of all, will want you to have a background in the performing arts, not just be like, I'm a dwarf, I deserve this role, I want to play it. They'll go, well, give us your resume. Well, hang on, you've got no background in the performing arts, and I can see you've played a goblin. No, I want a professional actor. That's what they're going to tell you. If it's someone that has trained hard, give them opportunities. It doesn't need to be Seven Dwarfs, give them opportunities. And like I said, we can't say that Disney hasn't done that. You know, we just got to wait and see.
Sheen, you wanted to pick up on the Peter Dinklage point, didn't you?
Yeah, I think Peter Dinklage has done a lot of roles where his height has been utilised, and I believe he has done Snow White and Seven Dwarfs pantomime before to elevate his career. A lot of my colleagues as well have done that and got into, because you get acting credits from doing such things as pantomime, which is...
Yeah, because didn't Peter get his role in Game of Thrones?
Yeah. Because
they needed a dwarf in Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
right? So,
yeah, and his height was made fun of in Game of Thrones. You know, there was derogatory comments made towards him throughout the series.
I guess the difference there is that the whole narrative is he is the genius in the character. He's,
Yeah.
you know, he is this incredibly intelligent man who happens to have dwarfism.
And there's a difference between laughing at you and laughing with you and having that, like Peter Dinklage, yes, what they showed in Game of Thrones, because like he said, no pointy shoes, no beard, so it wasn't a stereotypical dwarf. And yes, he showed the abuse that we kind of get, but also he had the comebacks. He was a rounded character, not just this thing that sneezed. And from my recollection, and I think it'd be very problematic if you say Peter Dinklage did panto, because they don't have pantos in America. They're British and sort of South American.
I guess the question is, though, who is to differentiate what part an actor with dwarfism should play and what part an actor with dwarfism shouldn't play? Like, culturally, what's acceptable, what isn't acceptable?
I think if you looked at it from would you put another minority group in a role where you go, we're just going to have them there based on that minority status?
I don't know.
And laugh at it.
Because, but I don't know. But are we laughing at this? Like, you worked on this film,
well,
so...
I'd like to think that with the minors, we're moving away from... And yes, I had a thing with the script. So if you look at the Disney, the 1937, you've got Dopey acting very animalistic and we laugh at him. And of course, Dopey wasn't a dwarf. They based him more on somebody with Down syndrome. Now, I think people, if you were to say, right, we're going to have 6 people actors with dwarfism and 1 with Down syndrome, people go, and you're letting him perform like that? We're laughing at someone...
But you're taking 1937...
Yeah, but it's still a Disney.
I'm talking about this film here.
Yeah, but it's still Disney, so they're still basing it on, like, having bashful, sleepy, you know, so on.
Well, I think times have progressed on, because I don't think they're being laughed at.
Panto.
I mean...
You are laughed at.
Well, let's talk about let's keep it in the film.
Everybody's quite laughed at Panto, though, isn't it?
But, like Tom Shakespeare says, when you come off Panto, the prince takes off his costume, you've laughed at the dwarfs, they don't take off the costume. They're dwarfs that you laugh at. And that's...
From my experience, that's not the case. Like, afterwards, people coming up are showing respect. You know, the kids getting pictures of us. They're like, they look at us with admiration.
Just finish up, because we want this debate to be about this film specifically rather than Panto. But do you think whatever Disney would have decided, they'd have had problems with this?
Probably. I think, you know, because, like, quite a lot of people with dwarfism were saying to me, oh, no, I wish they'd just scrap it. Don't do the film. Don't just leave it in the 1937. Yeah. But I felt maybe we can progress this. Now, as you know, with, like, most of their remakes, there's CGI in it somehow, form or other. And like I said, it's not saying that just because these characters, these magical characters who are not people with dwarfism, are not played by actors with dwarfism, but because, like I said, professional ones that Disney would want are not touching that role. That doesn't mean that there aren't dwarf actors in other things. And of course, as the producer, he was like, right, well, I want dwarfs doing other things behind the scenes as well. Like, so there was you know, in editing, there was a dwarf when I was there doing access, like, you know, provisions around the studio. And when you make things more accessible, then you can get more disabled actors in that studio for future work as well.
It's fascinating to hear both sides, and Tune, is there anything you just want to quickly point out? Just so
absolutely. I think there's a lot of dwarf actors that do want to play this role, which is why there are protests, you know, coming up for this. And I think it's an opportunity for us. You know, it looks like an amazing movie. I would have loved to have played a part in it. Okay. And there's many other colleagues that I know that would have loved to play the part as well.
Yeah. Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every single day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the morning.
Here now are Spirit and Missy, who definitely aren't one-trick ponies. They are therapy miniature Shetlands who visit schools, care homes and hospitals to boost people's moods.
That was certainly the case for 9-year-old Gracie, whose life changed for the better after meeting the pony. She's here now with her mum, Alice, alongside Spirit and Mrs. owner, Jess. Good morning, guys.
Morning, everybody.
Hello there. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Lovely to see you, Jess. Let's start talking to you, first of all. So, your mum, first of all, rescued a Shetland pony.
Yes. Her name was Amy.
Yeah.
And she was actually rescued off the back of a meat wagon. She'd had her foal ripped away from her. We lost her when she was 42 years old.
She reached a good age.
She did indeed. She had a very full life. Yeah. She was a typical Shetland, full of character.
Yes. So this was where your passion started, essentially.
Yes.
So what impact do you see the horses having on people?
So horses are really non-judgmental, and they just bring such joy. They just brighten up a room. Yeah. I mean, Grace, as soon as she sees Spirit, that's it. You know, her heart's melted, isn't it? Yeah.
One of the things as well, Jess, you explained that actually you were watching this morning, and that's where you got the idea to use the Shetlands and the miniature ponies that you had in this way.
Yes. So it was KL pony therapy with the guide horse Digby. I was watching, and it inspired me, as I'd had Bella, my little black Shetland at that time, wanted to share the love and the happiness that I could see it would bring to many others that couldn't have that accessibility.
Yeah, they're absolutely gorgeous. So can you tell us who we got here?
So this is Spirit, the teddy bear.
Yes.
Who stole Gracie's heart.
Yeah.
And this is Missy. the unicorn, who's also a little sassy pants.
Yes, and they're both very glittery.
They
and
are.
very stylish.
Yes,
their
that's the
appearance.
magical unicorn, so coming out.
Look at
And look,
Gracie.
Gracie, you love Spirit, don't you?
Yes.
What do you like to do with Spirit?
I like to read her and give her lots of hugs.
Lots of hugs and cuddles.
Mhm.
Does she ever misbehave?
Yes.
What does she do when she misbehaves? Does she run around and get excited?
Not listen a little bit, maybe.
Does she try and walk off stage?
And Alice, good morning. You're
Morning.
Grace's mum.
Yes.
So tell me, how did Gracie first meet Teddy?
So we started going to, Jess was running Easter events, so she runs lots of events during the school holidays. So we started going to those, and we just noticed such a massive difference to Gracie. She'd been really struggling in mainstream school, and we were awaiting a specialist provision. And my husband has a very complex medical condition. He spends half the year in hospital. So Gracie has a really hard home life. I think things can be really upsetting for her. And she's just so happy every time she sees Spirit. She counts down the days till we go, and then she loves it. And then afterwards, she's so much happier and so much more settled after. So I think it's like, it's not just when she's with Spirit, it's the before and after as well. It just means so much to her.
And her experience with spending time with the ponies means that she's been able to get back to school?
Yes, so she's just started at a fantastic new school, and they have 2 therapy dogs.
They've got dogs as well.
Like Buddy, like our
Yes.
Buddy.
Like our Buddy. So what are the dogs called, Gracie?
Snoopy and Lita.
And are they well behaved?
Yes.
OK. And I think some of your friends from school are watching this morning, aren't they? So if you want to have a look at camera 2, you can say hello. There you go. They're all watching. It's extraordinary, Jess, seeing the difference in Gracie, hearing what Alice is saying about the difference it's made to her life. We've seen people talk about the difference that Buddy will make eventually when he's properly trained and he can go and be a part of a family with somebody who's dealing with complex needs as well. What's it like for you and everybody that works with you?
It's amazing. It's inspirational. And it's so heartwarming to watch and actually see the progress of everybody. Nothing else beats animal therapy to me.
No. Because you have other animals as well, don't you?
Yes, so I've got the 4 therapy ponies, I've got therapy rabbits, therapy guinea pigs. We've got our star of the show, is a little cockerel who cock-a-doodle-oos on command.
On command?
On command.
And you got the idea, actually, for this therapy from seeing the show.
Yeah.
From on here.
I think it's one of the things that I've been lucky enough to work with a few animal therapy groups, and I've seen footage of the Dinky Donkeys going into care homes, particularly. And you do that with your ponies, don't you?
Yes, so we go into care homes, we go to schools, educational settings, hospices. We do a lot with Acorns Children's Hospice. We volunteer for them. And one of the most special moments was actually a lady that I met in a care home that was really subdued, didn't socialise at all. And I found all about her history, that she was a jockey in her earlier years. The staff knew nothing of this.
Because she didn't talk to anybody.
She didn't talk to anybody. She'd got no family. So, you know, it was a different life for her after that. She really interacted with the home. We did regular visits.
To be able to access, and you'll be able to speak to this with regards to Gracie's experience, access the opportunity to communicate with people thanks to these animals is just so important, isn't it?
Yeah, Gracie's always really struggled with her speech and language, but she really enjoys reading to Spirit, so that's really good practice for her and really educational. So it's just been amazing. She's just loves it.
We can see how proud she is. And Gracie, we're very proud of you as well. So we've got your little present that we thought you might quite like, of some bits and pieces in here that you can take to school and you can show your friends at school. There's all sorts of things in here. Are you getting some more stuff?
Yes, and we've got all the bits and pieces to take to school so you can show all of your chums and your friends. And look, it's like a unicorn. So it's actually... There you go, darling.
Thank you.
We're so proud of you. You're doing such an amazing job.
That's
and you love it so much, don't you? There you go. That's for you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Jess, thank you for bringing the horses in as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
That's no small mission, but it's lovely to have them in the studio.
Yeah.
Really special. Makes us all feel very happy.
Thank
Oh,
you.
hello.
Thank
You for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
4-year-old Letitia Jones makes £5,000 a week from selling her toenail clippings, old bed sheets and even bottles of spit to strangers online.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? And after earning enough to pay off her debts and buy her first home, she's now helping other women, like Freya, to do exactly the same. They're with us both now this morning. Good to see you both.
Hello.
Thank you for coming.
Good morning.
So, Letitia, if we go back, because as Kat was saying, you had dreams and aspirations of being a doctor growing up.
Yeah, that's sort of kind of been the main thing, really. Like, I used to sit at home and, like, watch Casualty and stuff in front of the TV. And, like, that was kind of always where, like, my education had gone to.
Yeah.
So I went to university and I studied biomedical science. And then I left in the second year.
So you had these aspirations of doing something and being a doctor and helping people. And, of course, now that's changed significantly in a very different world now.
Yeah.
But what happened at university? Why were you on that path and then suddenly decided this isn't working?
I just think, really, like, I'm very money motivated. And I think when I was younger, I didn't really understand to what degree that I loved to make money. So, like, the first kind of inkling of, like, when it was lockdown and, like, OnlyFans kind of came out on the rise and I just thought, well, you know what, like, I can do it whilst I'm still in uni. Like, it's not really that big of a deal. So that
And you were
kind of
accruing
happened.
debts at university as well,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah, and everything was just, like, one thing after another and I just thought, oh, there's got to be, like, a better way to do this. Like, I was working a part-time job too and everything was just, like, I just wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't, like, fulfilling me in the way that I thought that it would have done. So really the biggest factor was money.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's one kind of train of thought for doing OnlyFans. Where did the idea even come from? Had you heard somebody else was doing it and was making a vast amount of money doing it?
So it didn't come from anyone else, really, like another person. It came from a customer. So they'd messaged me and said, like, oh, this is, like, really weird, but I'm just wondering if, like, you will sell me your spit or shower water. And I was thinking, what on earth? Like,
yes, what went through your head?
I thought at first, like, he was joking, like it was just someone, like, just trying to take the mick or whatever. So I was just like, oh yeah, whatever, like, not expecting him to be like, okay, then actually send it to me. Like, I didn't even know, like, what the process would be, how to send it, what courier I use. Like, I didn't know anything. But it came from him, and he was just like, oh well, it's like a big, like, community of us who like weird and odd stuff. So I was just like, well, if it's there, then.
So then what did you do? Did you get onto Google and you were like, right, how much can I charge for this? What other things will people like?
So I actually charged £40 for the spit the first time, and that is, compared to now, what the prices are now is, like, shocking.
So how many years have you been doing this now?
So 4 or 5 years now.
OK, so in those 4 or 5 years, the amount that you sell these peculiar items to people for, to the men, has significantly gone up?
Yes.
OK, we'll come to that in a little bit, because that in itself is fascinating. How did you feel, though, about selling these things, very personal things that are sort of quite odd and a bit squeamish to think about? How did you feel about putting those in a post and sending it to somebody?
I think at the time when I first started, I didn't really think. I think only since, like, I've properly been posting on TikTok and, like, everybody else has kind of been like, oh, that's a little bit weird, I've then been like, maybe it is a bit strange. Like, I was just like, oh, whatever, like, blasé about it.
Because you were making money?
Yeah, so I wasn't really thinking. And, like, people will say, like, oh, what if you get framed for a crime and blah, 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 like, they're cloning you. I don't really think too much into it, because I'm like, oh, well, you sell your clothes on, like, Vinted or eBay or wherever, and people are still getting a part of you. Like, you might leave your sweat on there, you might leave something on the clothes that you don't necessarily know of.
So one of the concerns that other people have had is, if you're sending them your DNA, they could use your DNA to then sort of set you up for a crime down the line. That feels like something out of a movie. I mean, I hear what you're saying. However, the process of selling second-hand clothing on a platform like that you suggested, you don't think is that far removed from selling more personal, physical items from your being?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a little bit naive. I don't know how far people think into it. I don't really like to delve too much into, like, thinking about it. I'm just like, well, somebody else is going to do it, so it might as well be me.
And tell me, who is your demographic? Like, who is your audience? What type of man or woman, actually? Yeah, customer.
Yeah.
Who would...
So it's really broad, like it's very vast. Like it could go from like being a middle-aged like businessman to like a 24-year-old uni student or something. Like there is no in between at all. My customers usually are male, but like there's lots of customers on the websites that are also female too.
Okay.
You have bought your first property, paid off all your debts.
Yeah.
Bought your first property.
Yeah.
You're looking to buy another property now.
She's an entrepreneur.
Exceptionally lucrative
Yes, it is. Yeah.
line of work. Do you find it satisfying?
Yeah. And I think from when I started and what I was doing in first to now, it's changed massively. Like I feel so much more like comfortable, and my boundaries are so much more firm and in place. And I feel like I've got much more control over things now. So now compared to before, I love it.
What item is the most lucrative for you? What's the greatest sum of money you've earned for one item?
So the most expensive thing that I've sold is my spit for £1,500.
Okay. And is that to a regular customer?
So I had a long-term kind of relationship with that person.
So he's developed a relationship with
Yeah. But on average now, like, there isn't anything really that's sold for less than, like, £400 or £500 from me.
Now, Freya's sitting alongside you because what you've started... I know, it's extraordinary.
It is amazing, though. No,
what you've started to do is you've started to reach out to other people who may be interested in it and help and guide them so they don't make the mistakes that you made up front.
Yeah.
How did you get involved then, Freya?
Do you know what? It was actually a bit of a weird one. It was in 2021. I came across Letitia's TikTok. It was your kitchen bin. And it was being double bagged, put into a box, sent off. And it was just...
You sold your bin to somebody, Lydia?
Yeah.
The contents of
the kitchen bin, yeah.
OK, sorry.
So that absolutely... I know, it was like, what is going on here? So then I started following Letitia. It was probably about a year later. I then thought, oh, do you know what? I'm gonna get her guide. Obviously, that's when it was your original.
Yeah. And now you have a community of girls that you're helping, and you've bought in some things that you sell. Now, talk us through what you've got on the table down there. Starting with this one on the right. Is that your hair?
That's my hair. It's a mix of my actual hair and my hair extensions, obviously, just to kind of bulk it out a bit.
And if you were to sell that, how much do you think you would get for that?
Obviously, I'm fairly new into this, so that's maybe like a £50 kind of.
Pot.
Yeah. Would you?
Right.
Yeah.
OK, as you're building up your reputation in your current place.
Exactly.
OK, next to that, we've got...
Toenails.
My toenails.
These, I imagine, would be quite prized possessions.
Yes. So I'm keeping those because the toes I've got on now need to also go in that pot. So that is £600 for customer. He's already bought them, but I can't give them to him yet, so...
There's not enough.
Because he wants 2 sets?
Yes.
Left and right.
Yeah.
And then next to that is your...
Acrylic nails. Those are actually sold.
They're sold.
So they're off tomorrow. I'm going to send those. So they went for 40.
40.
But they're just my, like, normal.
They're just your acrylics. And then there's some slippers as well.
Also sold.
Sold as well.
So they're off to America, those.
And they're off to America.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long trip. What do your friends and family make of it?
So I think at first everyone was kind of like, Letitia, what is going on? Like, this is so strange. And I think because nobody really talks about it, nobody really knows that this is a real thing. But I think once everyone kind of got over the initial shock, everyone was just like, well, hey, if you're doing it and you're safe and you're enjoying it and you're making money and you're not feeling like you've got to do anything that you don't want to do, then hey, carry on.
And Freya, long term, I mean, obviously you're building up your business, but long term, how far do you see into the future doing something like this, or do you see it as a stepping stone to something different?
I mean, I think Letitia's been such an inspiration. So really, just following your footsteps.
Just doing what she's done.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you, Letitia, when you had aspirations to become a doctor, some of the best people in society, and helping those people, do you ever sort of think, God, what happened to that dream? Or are you thinking, you know what, I'm a businesswoman now, regardless of what my product is, I've got customers that I'm satisfying, and I'm building a life for myself and my family, and that's all that matters.
I think I see it as my main goal. I'm like a really caring person, so I think that my goal for being a doctor has come from wanting to help people. So I feel like with what I'm doing now with our community, like I am still helping the women, because I'm opening them up to something that they can do safely that they would not have known about before, and I'm making them and helping them make money in a way that they wouldn't have been able to before. So in my opinion, I feel like I'm doing the same thing, just in a different way. Like I still feel like I'm helping people. I'm just not in a hospital.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's
absolutely fascinating. You would never think that...
There is a market for everything, really.
There is.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing
so
your
much.
story.
Thank you for chatting
I'm
to us
sure
this morning. Thank
our
you.
viewers will have very strong opinions about it.
I'm ready.
But, you know, regardless, you have set yourselves up and you're sort of self-sufficient and you know you're safe, which is crucial as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.
Look, Jim is here to talk with us today about a cause that's very close to his heart.
After seeing the work conducted by charity Marie Curie firsthand, Jim is supporting them on their new campaign to fix end-of-life care.
Yeah, research by the charity has found that 1 in 4 people do not get the care that they need at their end of life, and so he's joining them with a call for the government to try and take some more action. This is a cause, as we said, very close to your heart. How did you get to know about Marie Curie, Jim?
I can't really remember, Ben. I mean, I've been an ambassador for Marie Curie for about 10 years. I can't remember what the initial connection was, but a very good friend of mine nursed his sister through the end of life. And she was only in her 50s and had terminal cancer, and he couldn't have done it without the support that Marie Curie gave him. I mean, but in sort of coming to the home, she saw the end of her life at home, which is what most of us would want, I think, wouldn't we, rather than in a hospital or a hospice. And seeing how they supported his sister and him, because the carer, I mean, obviously it's psychologically really difficult and exhausting to care for someone at that stage. So I thought, well, this is fantastic. They're great at what they do. They're the leading end-of-life sort of providers. So I'm very happy to support them, and particularly in this new Fix the End of Life campaign. Because, you know, you want the end of life to be it's hard enough.
Yes.
So you want it to be easy. You want to be surrounded by family if you can. I think most people would prefer to die at home. And at the moment, in the last year of life, about 80% of finance goes into hospital care, and of that, about half goes into emergency A&E care, and only 4% goes into palliative care. And we'd like the government, who are looking at this situation, they're coming up with a new 10-year strategy for the NHS. So this seems to like the perfect time to talk about, could you look at long-term strategy for palliative care so everybody's got access to it in the way that's best for them, really. And, you know, Marie Curie are very strong on this.
They're a remarkable charity. I know how closely one of my good friends, Chris Kamara, Cami, works with them, and the difference that they made to his mother-in-law's life at the end of her care. And the Daffodil campaign is such a massive campaign for them, isn't it?
It is. I mean, this is March. This is the daffodil. This is the season of daffodils in the garden. It's the Daffodil campaign, and I think this is the 39th year of the Marie Curie. So we'd ask everyone to try and support Marie Curie at this moment. I think last year we raised 1.3 million. So if people can go to the Marie Curie website, there's all sorts of different ways that you can support, you know, and their work. Getting nurses into homes and their research and this current Fix the End of Life Care campaign, it all goes to support that. So go to the website and have a look, see how you can help out. That'd be great.
I think one of the really important things, as you say, the government's doing this review, and that we know that they've said that they're going to be investing money into this as well to help support the work of hospices and end-of-life care.
They're putting 100 million in, which is fantastic, but that's sort of going into bricks and mortar facilities, you know, and if you're not near a hospital or a hospice, then you know, it can be a bit patchy, that. I mean, I'm not knocking it in any way. And, you know, Marie Curie worked very closely with the NHS. And if we can take some of the burden off hospitals and ambulance services and the 999 service by getting more nurses into homes, more care into homes, sort of in the community, away from the hospitals, then it frees up the hospitals for the work that they do so well. And that would be the brilliant thing to do, I think. So it's a long-term strategy, but, you know, the last government review about 7 or 8 years ago didn't really touch on palliative care. We're all getting older.
Yes.
You know, there's so many
Everybody will need some help at some stage.
Because one thing's sure, you know, we have one life, you know, and we're all it's going to end at some time. So it'll benefit everybody.
So opening up the conversation too.
I think that's so important to be able to talk about death in a kind of a reasoned way, not to be frightened of it, because we know it's going to happen. So, you know, simple things like, have you made a will? What music do you want at your funeral? Those sort of things, because it's traumatic enough dying without leaving family going, oh, sort of, what bank was Mum with? Or what music would she want at her funeral? She wouldn't want the Stones. You don't
know. She could be a bit of a goer.
Well, she could be, you know, jumping Jack Flash, you never know. So all those conversations, make them as normal as possible. It doesn't have to be traumatic. It just can be a sort of a general thing, you know. And start at any age. Don't wait till it's late. You know?
For sure. We don't have that long with you this morning, Jim, but we've got to ask you about Downton as well before you go. New movie, what can you tell us?
I can tell you, I think I'm allowed to tell you that it's opening on September the 12th. Great. That's very good. The third film. That's exciting.
Have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't. No. I think we're going to see it soon.
OK.
But so no, it's going to be a mystery to me. I know I filmed certain parts of it in the Great Yorkshire Showground in Harrogate, which is 300 yards from where I was born.
Oh, wow.
And I learned to ride my bicycle on the Great Yorkshire Showground.
And it's a role, you've always said that customs the role that you were born to play.
Sort of, yeah.
I mean, isn't that extraordinary that then the heritage of you growing up and then there you were being him?
There I was being him back home, you know. And the weird thing is the Great Yorkshire Showground, I mean, I tell Imelda, my wife, this, and she laughs. In the 50s, there was very little excitement in Harrogate, and there were no traffic lights. So when the Great Yorkshire Show was on for 3 days in July, there was traffic jams. We would make a picnic and sit on the wall and watch the traffic jam. I'm not looking for your pity.
Dizzy heights of excitement.
Was that where Bessie's Tea Room started? It was basically to come and watch the traffic jam.
Betty's, yes. Let's get a fat rascal from Betty's and watch the traffic jam.
That's absolutely amazing.
And is it nice to see the rest of the cast and stuff?
It's great. In fact, I've got a hot date in about 10 days' time with Mrs. Patmore, Mrs. Hughes, Daisy the maid, and Mr. Barrow, the naughty footman who became my successor as butler. So we meet up for dinners from time to time and dish the dirt sort of thing. So.
I bet it was magical getting back together, although missing Dame Maggie, of course.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, what a... You know, we won't see her like again, really. Somebody, I mean, an iconic figure who, you know, who's career started in classical theatre and then expanded to worldwide fame, you know, winning Oscars at the drop of a hat. And how lucky we were to have worked so closely with her for so long in Downton Abbey, you know, I mean...
Those lines as well that she'd deliver.
Zing,
zing. They were so good.
Get me back another time and I'll tell you about when Maggie Smith met Shirley MacLaine. I mean, that was a meeting over that.
Divas!
Wow.
Yeah.
We need that. We need the inside on that.
For sure.
Jim, out of time. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you. Lovely to see you.
As we say, really, really pleased that you come in and talk a lot about the Marie Curie end-of-life care campaign. I think it's really, really important.
Thank you for your support on that. That's really appreciated.
And we'll pass on your comments to Sam as well. He'll be thrilled to know you had your head in your hands as he tried his best.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And we'll see you in the morning. Ruth Ellis's story is something our first guest today knows all too well.
Yeah, as Ruth's granddaughter, Laura Enston, grew up in a family that was haunted for generations by murder and, of course, execution. But Laura joins us now to tell us why she finally feels proud to call Ruth her grandmother. Thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
Both Kat and I have been gripped to the drama, Laura. It's an extraordinary experience because, of course, we had a vague knowledge of who your grandmother was. We know her name, we know what she represents. But to actually see her story and get to know who she was has been really, really enlightening. And actually, that's something that you battled with for many years because the Ruth Ellis that we've seen in this drama wasn't the Ruth Ellis that you grew up with, is it?
100%. It's night and day. So I grew up thinking that Ruth was the caricature that was portrayed in the press, this sort of social climbing, jealous, cold-blooded killer. And she was just such a different character. So obviously the press had portrayed her in a certain way. That was reinforced in the film in 1985, The Dance with a Stranger. So ultimately, I grew up thinking Ruth was this person. And ultimately, I spent probably 40 years distancing myself from it. You know, I think I took on the shame and the embarrassment of what had happened and just didn't want a part of it. So I turned it into a secret, which I now realise how debilitating it is, you know, walking around with a massive secret. And I was petrified about people finding out. And it's just been the most wonderful experience, understanding the real Ruth. And we've, you know, the book that Carol Ann Lee, which obviously the drama is based on, A Fine Day for a Hanging, just incredible. And I only read that a couple of years ago.
Really?
And it was during lockdown. I was living in Canada at the time, started reading this book, and I was just blown away by what I'd read, and I felt completely re-educated.
And this was only a few years ago.
Correct, yeah.
So why had you, as a member of her family, not had the actual story and had been sort of deceived by what the press had written about her for decades? Because
ultimately, there was so much evidence at the time that was sort of concealed. So Carol Ann Lee's book that was published a few years ago, you know, the research that she went into just uncovered so many facts and exposed so many flaws in her defence and how she was treated, and just really gave some context to the type of woman that Ruth was, you know, in post-war Britain, when, you know, women, you know, weren't being encouraged to work. They were very much being ushered back into the home to be good little housewives. Ruth was the antithesis of that. And ultimately, you know, we, as a family, you know, didn't have this information.
Yeah, because you mentioned your family there. So your mum was Georgina.
Correct, yes.
And Georgina was Ruth's daughter who was sent away.
She was sent away. Ultimately, George Ellis, so Ruth's husband, did a deal with Ruth and said, I'll give you a divorce, but you have to give up custody of Georgina. Right. That's what happened. So Georgina went up to Manchester.
And that was your mum?
Correct, yes.
And so what was your mum like? And did your mum tell you anything about your grandmother?
She did, but she only told me the story that she knew. And ultimately, she really leaned in on the sordid side of Ruth's life, and she almost used it to justify her behaviour. My mum was, you know, incredibly beautiful. She had very high-profile relationships with
like
George
your
Best.
grandmother as well, by the way.
100%.
I mean, that's
wow, look, there's pictures. Look there.
So George Best, Richard Harris. You know, my mum knew everybody. You know, she would walk into a room, the room would turn. You know, she was so charismatic. She had so much going for her.
And she enjoyed that notoriety?
Yeah, 100%. She really leaned in on it. And for me, I was sort of leaned the complete opposite direction. I didn't want to be a part of it, but it was quite difficult as a child growing up, because Mum was so prolific. She knew everyone knew her. So as a child growing up, it was quite difficult to distance myself from it. As I got older, and obviously we had a different surname and stuff, it became easier. So when I went into the workplace, you know, people and sort of started making new friends, people didn't know. So I've been having to go around friends that I've known 25 years and to say, hey, surprise, I've got something to tell you.
So you're trying to distance yourself from what your mum's going through, which is enjoying the notoriety and being on the front pages of the newspapers and dating the likes of George Best in his heyday. But also you were saying at school you got bullied over what happened.
100%.
Talk us through what would happen at school.
It started from, as long as I can remember, you know, people would shout in the playground, or your mum, you know, your grandma's a murderer, a prostitute, you know, and as I got older, you know, there was a group of girls at school who would, you know, sort of send me little notes in class, you know, draw the little handman game, just sort of push them under my desk. And I sort of grew up.
Did you have anyone you could share that with, or anyone you could
Not really, no. And I think ultimately in my quest not to be defined by it, I turned it into a secret and didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I realised how damaging that is. I think it's taken up so much of me as a person.
Yeah. And it was only during lockdown when you were listening to Elizabeth Day's podcast.
We had her on the podcast. Such a brilliant podcast.
She's absolutely brilliant.
Incredible.
And How to Fail.
How to Fail.
And you associate...
I started to think, what have I failed at in life? And at the time, I was listening to some other podcasts talking about trying to get a better understanding of childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, this is what's happened to me. You know, at the age of 7 years old, when I found out who my grandmother is, the armour goes up.
Yeah.
And it never actually came down again.
No.
And, you know, so I was having a better understanding about, you know, what I'd failed at in life. Ultimately, you know, in my quest not to be defined by the legacy, I had been defined by it because I'd kept it a secret. And I think it has certainly affected me professionally and personally, there's no doubt about it. And I was listening to, you know, childhood trauma, understanding that piece, thinking, actually, what I've been through is a childhood trauma. And I now realise that, you know, and I was always quite dismissive of it as a kid. You think, oh, other people have been through worse, who cares? But now I realise that all childhood trauma is valid and worthy of conversation and therapy if needed.
It's been an amazing shift. It's lovely to hear the enthusiasm and passion you're talking about your grandmother now and her legacy, which is yours, of course, and the pride that you have to be her granddaughter. So much so that you're launching a petition to try and sort of get some sort of retrospective pardon or something?
Correct, yes. So this has all happened in the last 24 hours.
Okay.
So we have instructed Mishcon Dereya.
Who's in the drama series. He plays the lawyer.
Yeah, so Victor Mishcon, his firm approached us, and ultimately they are really passionate about continuing and fixing this. And seeking a pardon for Ruth. And ultimately, you know, we're looking for public support. So we've set up a crowdfunding page. If you Google Crowd Justice Ruth Ellis, that page will come up. But, you know, we feel like there's with all this new evidence, there's certainly something to explore here.
It's an extraordinary thing watching in the drama, watching what a proud, strong-willed, ambitious and driven woman she was. And she was absolutely didn't want anybody's sympathy at any point. It's fascinating to see. Even though constantly people are saying, look, if you change the way you're going about your defence, we wouldn't necessarily have to face the death penalty, but she refused to do it. She was so principled. She's an extraordinary woman.
Incredible. She was, you know, a modern-day woman, if you think about what she'd achieved. In the face of adversity, she'd been abused, you know, by every significant man in her life. And despite that, you know, in 1955, she was a single mother. She was running a thriving business. She had an apartment above the club, you know, looking after her 2 kids. She had loads of money. She had loads of savings, and everything sort of started to unravel when David Blakely, you know, walked into her life.
Well, look, good luck with the petition.
Thank you so
we'll
much.
put the details out there so our viewers can have a look and see what it is.
Thank you.
But thank you for coming in. You can see the pride in you now as well, Laura. It's really lovely to see. You can stream that dramatisation if you haven't seen it yet, a Ruth Ellis story.
Absolutely brilliant.
It is really gripping on ITVX. And if you'd like to learn more about the documentary, The Real Ruth Ellis Story, that's also on ITVX.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And we'll see you in the morning.
Well, in a daytime TV exclusive, Giselle's daughter, Caroline, has decided to share her side of the harrowing story and the impact of her father's crimes. Just a warning that we're going to be discussing themes of sexual violence which some viewers may find upsetting. Caroline, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me this morning.
It is impossible for us to fathom what it is that you have been through and your family have been through because of your father's actions. But with the book, you're sort of addressing that, trying to help us understand why was it important that you wrote the book?
Because, you know, I just wanted to share our own story, which is not an isolated case. I mean, chemical submission, you know, I discovered back in 2020 that it's more widely used, probably in France, but also in Europe, we have several, probably southern cases. And so it's important to drive awareness about, you know, because chemical submission, it's a real health public issue, I'm convinced, and now we know.
So let's go back to 2020 when suddenly you found out what it was that your father had done. I imagine that day plays over in your memory, trying to make sense of hearing the accusation at the time and the reality that we now know. What was that moment like for you, Caroline?
I was devastated. You know, back 2020, it was a Monday, November the 2nd, when my mom called me. She had to tell me that my father drugged her over the past 10 years for raping her by, strangers. And I realized that I didn't know my beloved father.
And this kind of came about almost, it was a complete surprise because your father had been arrested in a supermarket.
He was arrested for obscuring,
taking photographs
on, against three women. He photographed 3 women, and they took charges to him. So they probably, without knowing, saved my mom.
Yes, definitely.
Because thanks to this first complaint, the police officer had to investigate, his own mobile and different kind of computers and so on. And so they discovered more than 20,000 videos and photographs of sexual abuse. I mean, seeing my mom with different kind of men. So it was a shock. And, they were totally astounding by this affair in France. Because it was the very first time that it happened.
Yes. Did you ever suspect anything at any stage? Did your mom's behaviour change? Did you ever think that she was being drugged?
We, the children, my 2 brothers and me, we were really afraid because we knew that there is something wrong with my mom.
Yes.
Sometimes we had her on the phone and she was like a big... she didn't get... she had like incoherent behavior over the phone. She talked in a different way. She was like... She didn't seem in her right mind. But we were far from this reality.
Yeah. I think your fear was dementia, wasn't it? Or something...
We were afraid that she had a brain... We thought about a brain cancer. We thought about, Alzheimer. We thought that maybe she was starting, like, having a demential disease. But how could we think about that?
There's a description in the book where you're at dinner and you said it was almost as though the battery was taken out of her, that the plug was pulled out almost.
She was here without being here.
Yes.
Like she was not, she was falling.
Yeah.
She was totally, she was here and my brothers, saw her falling at the table. It was really weird,
Caroline, was there ever anything for you, your brothers, your family, that would mean you were suspicious of your father's behaviour at any point until that moment where these 3 women had accused him of upskirting and had been arrested? Had any of you had any sense that your father had this peculiarity that meant he would behave like this?
Believe me, I was so close from my father. I was the only daughter of this family. I trust him 100%. I never saw him, staring at a woman. Never, ever. He had some, respectful comment about women. So when we discovered that as a children, all our worlds collapsed. All our foundation fell down.
And then when you had to what you write about in the book is the first time you took a look at a photograph and you could only bear to look at one. You couldn't look at any more after that. How did you feel when you saw that? Did your brain try and make sense of the situation? Do you remember?
It was like kind of a dissociated?
Yes.
Sorry, yeah. I was in a state of a shock.
Yeah.
And you have to realize the reality of what you're saying, but it's too much. It's too violent. It's crazy. So, but the worst thing, to be honest with you, is to discover that you are betrayed by one of the most important men in your own life. For my mom, it was her husband. Now they are they get divorced, they got divorced. But me, it was my father. I got his DNA.
Yeah, you put it so well in the book when you say, I was the daughter of the victim and the tormentor. To me, I find that very difficult to even think about.
You have to split in two.
Yeah. I don't know how you
I don't
did
know
that.
how to cope with that still. It's still, you know, it's not because the trial is over that all of this process is over for us as children. It's really difficult to bear that on our shoulder because it's our own legacy.
One of the things that was remarkable was your mother waiving her right to anonymity and being so brave and showing so much courage to stand there every day in that trial, to see those images, to see those videos, to see the men that perpetrated those crimes against her. How did you feel watching your mum stand there and sort of so bravely take on board what had happened to her?
To me, and I think, I mean, for us as children, she's a hero. Because, you know, she is 72 years old. She came every single day during 4 months, facing her abuser, her sexual abuser, facing Dominique. She has a tremendous courage. We are really proud of her.
I bet. But I understand that she also struggled to make sense of the man that she loved, her husband, the father of her most important possessions, her children. She struggled to make sense of what he'd put her through and what he put you all through as well.
It's difficult for her, I think, to see him as he is. He is a pervert. He is a deviant. So when you live with someone as she did, I mean, for almost 50 years of togetherness, you know. For her, it's still difficult to imagine that it is possible. So we are in a different position with my mom.
So your relationship with your mum has distanced slightly?
Yes, we have to rebuild each other, you know, in a different way.
Sure. Yeah.
And we can't help each other.
Yeah. I think also it must have really changed your perceptions of your childhood as well, because now having this knowledge that you have, which is horrifying, it must then reframe every single memory you have, as right from being a little girl to your age now.
Yeah, because, you know, when I look back, I don't see all the things. To me, it wasn't true. It wasn't true because, you know, we know now that Dominique didn't start back in 2011. Now we know is, you know, our own journey started, you know, back in the 19s. And I was 20, you know? So when I look back at all of these memories, to me, it's not true. He's a liar. He's a manipulator. And as a children, as a daughter, I can't see, you know, my life before as I thought it was.
Of course, of course.
And it's not just you as a daughter either. You've got a son too. How do you approach that, you know, talking to him about it? How do you approach it with a level of honesty, but not frightening him too much?
With simple words.
Yeah.
He was his grandfather. He really loved him, but we have the responsibility to tell him the truth.
Yes.
So we try to find the best words for a 6-year-old child at this stage, at the moment of our life.
Don't know how you...
And then, you know, with the trial, now he's 10 and understood. He knows that he's never see him again. And to be honest with you, he told us quite recently that it doesn't exist anymore for him.
Really? So he's adjusted already? Yeah. The most recent update is that you now personally are pressing charges against your father for chemical submission and also for raping you too. So you have discovered evidence that you believe points to the fact that he did this to you as well.
I know. I knew right from the beginning.
Really?
But you know, in France, this is the public prosecutor's officers who lead the complaint. And right from the start, they decided to focus on my mother because all the evidence were on the table.
Mm.
But I know that he drugged me and he probably did a lot more. So I decided during this trial, because I understood I was an invisible victim and I'm the daughter. Mm. So I need to get the truth. I don't know what it's, you know, what it's going to be the next steps.
Sure.
But at least I'm aligned with myself because I know that it's happened something wrong before and after those two pictures. Well, I'm not sleeping, I'm sedated.
Mm. In the same position?
In the same position
as your mother?
as my mother. You know, there's
It's
so
something
many...
something he's always denied. And the spokesperson, we just need to do this for the National Police in France, said, as an investigation is currently underway, they were unable to respond to the scenario right now for you.
He lied. He lied each time. He did several versions. We can't, you know, during this trial, it's a shame because, you know, we didn't get any clear answer from him.
The frustration of that will be intolerable.
Mm.
But I wonder, though, Caroline, how you see the future, how you and your brothers and your son and your family and your mother will get beyond this. Do you have hope that you will be able to get beyond it?
I don't want to talk for my mum or even for my two brothers, but for me, I think that hopefully and frankly, I hope this new complaint is going to be taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And otherwise, you know, my life goes on. I'm a mum, I'm working, I'm committed to that cause, chemical submission. Mm. I'm not pretending that I'm going to save everyone, but I'm just trying to drive awareness and to make people understand that it does exist.
Yes.
And that you, as a victim, if you have a doubt, investigate the doubt.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for coming on to the show. And thank you for being so brave. And I think your mom is just, as you said, to use your words, a hero.
She's a hero.
Yeah.
Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning. Now, it's a condition that affects more than 1 million people in this country, yet obsessive-compulsive disorder is still widely misunderstood, and it's a condition that our next guest has been learning to live with since childhood. Yeah, starring in hit TV shows, including, of course, Downton Abbey, Tuppence Middleton appeared to be the epitome of confidence. But behind the scenes, her life was controlled by terrifying, intrusive thoughts and repetitive, compulsive rituals. Now Tuppence has opened up about the extent of her condition for the first time in her new memoir, Scorpions. And as she's preparing to take to the West End stage again tonight, Tuppence has taken a break from her busy schedule to tell us more about the book. Firstly, you started last night in The Years, which I saw on Saturday. I'm still reeling from.
Yeah.
How did it go?
OK, I think I had a great time. I think you spend so much energy being hyper-focused before your first performance, so you sort of don't really think about anything else, just getting through to the end of the play. But it's such a supportive company and it's such a beautiful thing to be a part of, so I just felt very supported.
It's an extraordinary experience watching it. We'll come and talk about that a little bit later on because, of course, we also want to talk about your book. Yeah, Scorpions. Yeah, it's so brave and open and honest. And what I like most about it is, even if you don't suffer from OCD yourself at all, your writing makes you go to that place. You can absolutely empathise with exactly what you're going through. Was that a conscious decision?
Yeah, I think I'd read books on OCD which had felt quite statistical and sort of removed, and I really wanted for people to feel like they were inside the head of someone with OCD, for it to feel immersive, so you could understand the thought processes. And I think we have a very sort of generalised, often trivialised version of what OCD is. Yeah. And whether that's people thinking, oh, I like order and cleanliness. I wanted people to understand the sort of the bit before that, the bit before the compulsions. What happens in your head? Why do I have to count to 8? Why do I have to touch these things a certain amount of times? Why do I have this sort of reassurance-seeking behaviours? And for someone who doesn't have OCD, I wanted to give them more of an understanding. But if you do suffer with it, I also sort of wanted to provide a little bit of hope.
It was so clever, actually.
Yeah.
The scorpions,
That's an idea.
the idea of that, it allows the reader to get hold of exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I think often people like to sort of name their OCD, they either as a sort of singular entity or something else. But for me, it always felt like this sort of crawling, sinister presence, and the thoughts and the way that they change and the speed that they move. The idea of scorpions crawling around in my head was something that always struck a chord.
How did it start, Tuppence?
Well, I think it started really after I had a prolonged illness as a child. I had chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, as it's also known. And I was constantly nauseous. I lost a lot of weight. I was very tired. I couldn't get out of bed. And that lasted for a few months. And when I finally recovered, I started to get symptoms of OCD and perform these sort of checking behaviours and a lot of counting rituals. So I would look at things in my room which were square and count the corners to a count of 8. And then it would be checking certain things in the kitchen, checking door handles, worrying about getting sick, which was a huge drive, I think, as a carry through from my illness, that I'd had this prolonged nausea and never had any resolution. So I think that turned into emetophobia, which I talk a lot about in the book, which is a fear of vomiting, and that drives a lot of those cleanliness compulsions.
And did it kind of spiral out of control pretty quickly? Because what you're talking about was when you were about 10 or 11. Yeah. You stopped going to school. Your mum must have been so upset and terrified, not knowing exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Did it spiral out of control fairly quickly, or did you get some help? And how long did it take you to get the diagnosis?
It was quite gradual. I mean, it was something that we initially went to our GP about when I was 11 or 12, when it first started to show up. And then I sort of managed it through school. And the thing about OCD, which I think is quite difficult and which I wanted to shed light on, is that it's such a private thing, because so much of it is internal thinking, then you can hide it from people. And a lot of my checking behaviours revolved around my home. So once I had kind of left a place of responsibility, I suppose, then it was much easier to cover it up. So it was at its worst in my early and mid-20s, when I was sort of studying, but then just after that, when I'd started working the first few years after drama school. And then I sought various different types of help. I tried CBT therapy, cognitive behavioural therapy. I was on medication for 2.5 years, which was an antidepressant often prescribed for OCD. And then eventually I had a course of talking therapy as I was coming off medication, which was the thing that helped me the most. But it's so individual, I think.
So individual. You're a mum now as well, and you work in a world which is very high profile professionally.
Yeah.
And you have to mix with all sorts of people with demands on your time, like performing live on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, how does it manifest itself now, Tuppence? How do you navigate being a mum? Because little kids can be ill.
Yes. Yeah. So that was a really difficult thing. And I think people with OCD often don't even get pregnant because they're worried about morning sickness, or they're worried about what happens when they have children and those children pick up bugs, as they inevitably do. I think a lot of preparation is involved. There's two sides to it, I suppose. You have this distraction which requires a lot of your focus. So in that respect, sometimes it can distract me from routines and rituals that I set up, which is a great thing. And then on the other hand, there is this huge anxiety about, going to a soft play or going to nursery and picking up bugs. And so then I have these sort of kits which I built in case she gets ill. And I have a very understanding partner, and it's a lot about preparing yourself for those situations.
Being organised.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just so tricky, I think, to manage it within society too, and people's perceptions of it, because we've seen interviews that you've done where people sometimes just trivialise it, actually.
Yeah.
You received a mug as a present.
Yeah. which said obsessive compulsive on it.
Yeah.
And you know, something that I talk about in the book too, I find it hard to imagine someone having a mug with PTSD written on it. You know, it's a mental health condition, and it's just because there are elements of it which may seem kind of ludicrous to people, then it's still very serious to the person who has it. And I think in terms of work, I now feel much more able to speak to co-stars or speak to, you know, if I have an intimate scene with someone and tell them this is my particular anxiety and please let me know if you have any kind of contagious illness that could potentially throw up some problems.
Yeah. It's fascinating. As Kat was saying, it's brilliant that you're talking about it so openly as well. Like, we know you professionally so open, but personally, this is the difference. We're joined as well now by psychiatrist and OCD specialist, Professor David Veal. Good morning to you, Professor David. Thank you for joining us. Can you just break down, in simple terms, for the layman, exactly what OCD is?
Well, obsessive-compulsive disorder consists of both obsessions and compulsions. And an example of an obsession might be a fear of contamination, perhaps from germs or something, and leading to compulsive washing. Or someone else might have a doubt that they've just run over a cyclist, leading to constant checking. Someone else might have intrusive thoughts about stabbing their baby or something and having to neutralise it. So it's many different types within OCD, but the key thing is that it's very distressing, very time-consuming and interfering in one's life.
I mean, Tubbins talked about some of the treatments that she's had. Is it something that can be cured with the right treatment?
Most people can make definitely progress in terms of using both cognitive behaviour therapy, but it needs to be specific. It includes principles of facing up to your fears and being able to learn how to tolerate uncertainty. So it is tough. It requires a lot of courage. And as Tuppence says, and people with more severe problems might be helped also by medication.
And if somebody was watching the show right now and was picking up on maybe some of the symptoms that you're describing or thinking that they have those kind of thoughts, what would be your advice to them?
Well, I'd definitely seek professional help, and you can do that in the UK through talking therapies on the NHS, certainly, or you can get a referral by your GP. But, you know, I think the message is this is something that's definitely treatable, and you can definitely make progress, even if you don't completely recover from it.
Well, thank you, Professor David. I'd imagine that you'd echo that as well, Tubbins, that you are making progress.
Yes, I think, you know, I feel now at a position in my life where it's much more manageable, and I've learned certain ways to cope with it when I'm in more stressful periods of my life. So that's part of the reason I felt like it was good timing to write the book. I could have some perspective.